Hello, everyone, and welcome to a level story stream favorite. We're talking about the games we played in 2023. Oh my god. And today I'm joined, of course, by Red Angel and Sam, the game professor. Hi.
Hello, everyone.
Learning to ya. I'm sorry, I had to.
Yeah.
The vibe was there.
Yeah, we gotta be goofy. We gotta be silly. It's a requirement. But yeah, hi everyone. How are you both doing tonight?
I'm doing fine. It's the end of a week. Looking forward to the weekend. Also, my partner's out of town for said weekend, so
Oh,
you know, deep cleaning the house. Relaxing things.
nice, nice. What about you, Red?
Looking forward to the weekend because just been a long week.
Yeah, I feel that.
Looking forward to it. I'm gonna just finish up some scripts, maybe get to recording if my new kitten doesn't decide to just scream constantly, but we'll see.
Very cool, very cool. Speaking of kitten and just cats in general, there might be moments in the stream when we have to stop to keep our cats from causing mass chaos. So, apologies in advance.
As we all know, the internet hates cats, so
Exactly. That's why I wanted to say that. Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, just wanted to let people know, it's like just a little warning, like, because we know people don't like cats. So, just so you're aware. But anyway, so not liking cats aside, we're here to talk about the games we played in 2023. Yes, we are a little late to the party, but as Red said, better late than never. So, it works out. But I guess in general, sorry for my Alexa device going off in the background. Hopefully, I don't know if the mic picks that up or not. But anyway, overall, how would you say your 2023 in gaming was? Was it a good year? Bad year? Mix?
Good and overwhelming. There is too many of the games are too long. It is kind of famously a very good year in terms of games released, even if it's just an absolutely awful year for the industry itself and for people who work in games.
Yeah.
There's just lots of very good games that came out, and there are too many of them, and they're too long, and they don't cost too much money, but there's too much money that needs to be spent in order to play all of them. It's just a lot. So I enjoyed it, but it's yet another, man, I wish I was actually able to keep up with it all year.
Yeah,
Likewise.
Yeah, same.
Same brain on that one, everybody.
It's funny because the year started out pretty good for me in 2023. I didn't feel overwhelmed at all, and just so many games I was looking forward to were coming out, and I felt like I couldn't keep up with it all, and that's when it started getting overwhelming. Like probably around June, I want to say. It was a lot, but yes. So what we do in these chats is it's a very casual chat, just talking about the games we played in the past year. So we're kind of going to be going all over the place. But if anybody in the chat wants to write about their favorite games, feel free and we'll comment on them and talk about them and stuff. So I guess okay. Who would like to start with a game that they played this year?
Just a game, huh?
A game.
Oh boy.
We're gonna start from there. Okay, actually no. Let me backtrack. Hang on. I'm being way too broad. How about a game that you would call not maybe like either a favorite of all time or just like a favorite game of 2023?
May I take this?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Hey, let's go. So, this year, I had completely forgot that Slay the Princess was coming out
Hmm.
soon. Completely forgot. This was a project I have been following for years, and I've been wanting it to come out because it just looked so interesting and it just so philosophical, and it tickled all the spots of my overtly intellectual slash sometimes obsessive self. And wouldn't you know it, Slay the Princess came out, and I was stoked, and it met all my expectations pretty much exactly. A interestingly subversive. I know that word's kind of overused nowadays, but just bear with me on this. An interestingly subversive trope of subversive with fairy tales, which again, overused, but this is one of those games that I don't want to spoil too much of, but you've gotta play it in order to really understand what I'm talking about here, because it is less of a subverting of a fairy tale story and as much as subverting the concept of choice you would have in a story like this.
Hmm.
Honestly, it was my game of the year. It should have won a award or been nominated at least. I am still salty about that. Dave the
I was
Diver was
kind of shocked it didn't get nominations. Yeah.
I guarantee you Dave the Diver was the reason. As like
Mm.
Dave the Diver is a fun game. I've been playing it now. I see the appeal, but Nexon is not an independent company. You
Mhm.
cannot tell me that. That's the Maple Story guys. They have more money than God.
Yeah, I have yet to finish Slay the Princess, but I can back it up as one of the best games of the year for sure. It is very interesting. It's a ride. I'm enjoying it very much.
I don't know much about it other than like just other than talking to both of you like very like little about it. So like what genre is it?
Visual novel, and we're gonna start
Yeah,
there.
Okay. Well, then I guess I'll
horror
pick it up.
visual novel for sure. Fantasy horror visual novel, I guess.
Fantasy horror visual novel, 100%.
Yeah,
Okay.
and like to
Choose your own
clarify,
adventure.
yeah, very high, because like visual novels can range anywhere from you make a couple choices and there might be a different ending or two to you're constantly making choices and there are tons of different endings,
Yep.
and it's closer to that second one. Like it's a very interactive as visual novels go.
It is very dialogue heavy, and every single bit of dialogue is slightly different depending on your response.
Hmm.
Okay. Ooh, cool. All right.
So it's like the Goosebumps choose your own adventure horror story.
I would not stoop to the left. Oh God. I
No,
mean, when
but
it comes
this
down
is
to
the
it,
most simplified way I could put it. It
yeah,
is
no, you're right. Look, I loved choose your own adventure books as a kid, and I recognize that on some level, like narrative heavy, choice heavy video games are, there are lots of parallels and comparisons you could draw. But man, those books were not that great. Uh, I don't know if maybe there is some like all-time great literary work that's a choose your own adventure book, but I never read one if so, even though I loved those very much.
Mm. Gotcha. Okay.
the writing in this is peak though, honestly.
It's so
Yeah.
good.
It's so good, and it when I say it like tickled the philosopher side of my brain, it really did. This is someone
Yeah.
who very much dived very deep into philosophy at a point in my life. And there are so many different types of philosophies that are played around with in this. And it is fascinating to me that they managed to kind of like weave all of it together and just go, okay, well, it's sort of determinism, but also look at all these other things we just shoved in there for you, and by the end you just kind of go, oh, it's just a lot of things, and it's more of an experience than anything else. So
When you think about
100%
it,
would recommend.
there's also a little bit of both the Stanley Parable and of all things, Disco Elysium in
Mm.
there, I feel like, which
Yeah,
is
especially
strange,
near
but
the end.
yeah, that's yeah, it's a weird game and it's
It's a
good
weird.
and it's interesting and yeah, recommended for sure.
I need to play. I still haven't played just the Stanley Parable. I'm a fool. I need to get to that game.
That one doesn't even take all that long, really. Though personally, I do think that the beginner's guide, which the creator made later, is even better. I have a lot of love for the beginner's guide.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to get to that and to Slay the Princess, because I did add it to my list when Red mentioned it a little while back, but I haven't actually played it yet, so I'll definitely have to add that to my list, because that sounds very cool. I'm very intrigued now. But yeah, cool. Also, hi to number 9 Robotic in the chat. Hi, hello.
Oh,
Okay.
right. There's a chat. Yes, psychological fantasy horror, as this user put it, is not bad.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. From what y'all were saying. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, that sounds like a really good pick.
Well, here, let me talk about a good weird one for a minute that I can't talk
Yes.
about in incredible detail because I still haven't finished the dang thing,
Okay.
which is going to be a running theme for me. There are a lot of these games that I love and have not finished, but Stray Gods, the role-playing musical, is pretty cool. I backed that way back when. It had a different title and everything. I forget what it was called back then, but yeah, I was an original backer of this game, and from what I've played, at least, it's turned out really well. One of the things that tends to be an issue for me when it comes to like relatively low budget musical, which I guess by the end I don't know if you could call it low budget, but in one way or another, not like a huge musical production, right? A common thing of that is just that even if the ideas are really interesting and there's a lot of cool stuff going on, the music isn't always all that great. And there is some of that in here. There are some of I'm not quite enough of a musical person to, lay out exactly what what I take issue with in like structure or whatever. But like, there are some times where the lyricism and melodies and such don't quite feel as good as they could possibly be or whatever. But it's all pretty good so far, and that is counting the fact that it is actively allowing you to make choices. Like, think kind of like a Telltale style, a cinematic adventure game. It's allowing you to make choices during the songs that change what is sung and what sequences it goes into next and stuff. Like, the music continuously plays as you are making choices and altering what actually happens and what the song becomes. And it's really neat. Like, it's just a very cool effect. And as someone who's really wanted to see how we could create musical video games for a long time, like, that's always been a thing I've been interested in. And there have sort of been attempts. Like, there was an RPG back on the PS1, and it's been remade a couple times. Forgetting what it's called for some reason. Harmony: The Fall of Reverie is a different one, but it had Harmony in it somewhere. It's like a fantasy RPG, and basically just the protagonist sings song. Like, there are some songs in it, and that's cool. But I've always been really curious how you could create a video game where the player is meaningfully participating in the act of telling the story through the music. And I think that there's probably, something deeper that we could do there than, make choices like you would in most other video games, but it changes how the song goes. But that is still such a huge step up from anything else that I've seen before.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's cool. I started to play that, I guess, because it's not supposed to be a long game, right? Sam, I think we might have lost you.
Oh my god, he's dead. Damn.
Okay,
Yeah.
I guess switching to my
There.
headset mic. I know
There
it
we
doesn't sound as nice, but I'm gonna have to figure out what's happening here because I use this mic for recording. If it's cutting in and out when I'm recording things, that'll be bad.
Oh no.
Sorry. Yeah. It's not supposed to be particularly long. No. It's just one of those where whenever I've started it, I've ended up being distracted by one thing or another.
Okay.
Like I said, too many games this year.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm excited to get further through it because I'm not very far myself. But yeah, that like you were saying, that has to be incredibly just difficult to make a game like that. It's just fascinating to me, and I honestly like just thinking like musical and a game combined together. That just sounds, that's like chef's kiss. I'm so excited. So I'm glad that you are really loving it. It makes me excited to keep going through it.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't somehow completely screw up the ending or whatever, right? Like then I think I'll end up enjoying it quite a bit when all's said and done because I'm liking it so far.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. Well, I think the game that I want to talk about when I think about like favorites that I played in 2023, for me, I have to talk about Lies of P.
I need to play that.
Yeah. This game obviously like it is a Souls-like, and when it was first announced, like I was very excited for it, but as Sam knows, like I've never really gone through a Souls game on my own, so I was very nervous picking up this game because there is no co-op in it. And I wasn't sure if I'd actually be able to beat it, let alone even if I would like it, because like there's lots of Souls-likes out there, and from what I've heard, because I don't think I've actually played any Souls-like apart from like playing a little bit of Code Vein, but most Souls-like, it's kind of ranges on how successful they are at achieving like the Souls feel, and most of the time they don't really, maybe Sam can speak to this more than I can, but they never really capture it. But Lies of P does capture like that Souls-like feeling. Like maybe the writing isn't always on point like Souls games, but like it's still really, really good.
I don't know, some awkward dialogue I feel like is also a core part of the Souls formula, right? Like
True, actually. That's a good point.
that, not necessarily in like a flawed way, even just like I don't know, something about the writing can feel a little off, and that helps with the ambiance somehow. I don't know. I don't know how much that applies to Lies of P. I only played the demo, but yeah.
Yeah, it's just some weird, sometimes some interesting, I'll call them interesting choices with the story, and how they play with choice in the game and the sort of lying mechanic. Like I think my favorite part about it was also just like how it incorporates the story of Pinocchio into a Souls-like game. The adaptation choices they make are actually pretty cool. Some are kind of on the nose, but
Yeah. Oh no.
but it works though. Even if it is like a bit sort of like okay, like it still comes together really well, and I feel like just for me, just I think just the challenge of it and being able to complete it, like just the experience itself was just so rewarding for me. And I do think, I mean, it did get a lot of praise, but I think a lot of games came out that just really overshadowed a lot of games, quite frankly. And it didn't win as many awards as I was hoping it would, and that makes me a little sad. But it's a really good game. I would highly recommend it, and I enjoyed it immensely.
Nominated though, so that's good.
What's
Sorry,
that?
what was that?
Oh shoot, it got nominated though, so that's good.
That's
yeah,
true.
that's something.
Yeah, that is something for sure.
Yeah. It was funny. I wasn't like honestly when you were really excited for it, I didn't entirely understand. I was like, I don't know, like I've seen Souls likes before. It doesn't look that special necessarily, but then I played the demo and then it got all the praise and stuff, and like it is, yeah, I get it. It's good, and I need to play more of it. I really love the way that the Souls aesthetic goes with the sort of like puppet android aesthetic. It's a very specific type of creepy Souls-like situation. It's nice. They did a good job with it.
Yeah, it's one of the few times I actually played, because I tend to not always like playing demos for games. Typically, if I want to play a game, like I just want to play it, so I won't play a demo. But in this case, I heard some mixed feelings on this game, and so that's why I ended up checking the demo out, and I really enjoyed it. So I actually didn't complete the demo. I just decided to wait until I got the game, and yeah, I was pumped about it. It was a lot of fun. Very challenging. But, you know, that's to be expected, I guess.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I definitely had a lot of fun with this game. It is a shame. I get, though, why they didn't do this, but it is a shame they don't have co-op in it. But,
Yeah.
you know, that's okay.
Would that mean there would be 2 Pinocchios?
Well, I don't know. I don't know how they would handle that, to be honest. I guess.
It's just a Geppetto, I guess.
Oh my god, that would be interesting. Also, hello, Defender Hero. Good to see you. What's it called? I know in Returnal with the co-op, maybe this is a sign that we can talk about Returnal now, but because that's another game I played in 2023 and loved immensely. But in
we
Returnal,
played that last year.
Yes. Can you?
There's so much stuff. Even when I was just like looking at games to talk about or whatever, I was like, that was last year. I thought that was before then. But okay.
Yeah. I guess I will transition into Returnal then, because in Returnal with the co-op, you are just 2. I'm forgetting the main character's name. Is it Celine?
I believe so. Yes.
I think so. Yeah. It's just 2 Celines. So maybe they would do the same thing in Lies of P. I'm not sure.
Yeah. I mean, that is very that is fitting with what's happening in Returnal, for sure.
Yeah.
Like, it's an appropriate type of thing to involve. Like, it's not quite like the first 2 Halo games have co-op and there's just another Master Chief there. Like, it works just fine for the co-op of it, but you know, you do have to understand that I know there are 2 of us playing, but there is only one of this character, like narratively speaking.
Right.
Whereas Returnal is, you know, about these constant loops of this person where you'll even if you're playing alone, you'll come across, you know, bodies of her and like other stuff like that. So it makes a lot of sense for that game in particular. They kind of already had a narrative reason built in.
That is an excellent point. Yeah. I will
also Returnal is good. If we're just switching into talking about it right now, I should just say Returnal's really good.
Oh yeah. Returnal.
Not a game of 2023, but a game played in it for you. And
yes.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. This is a game that, thank God you encouraged me to play it, Sam, because I when it was announced, like I remember being like kind of intrigued by it, but I was like, I don't know, like I might not play this. And then like I got it on sale, and even then when I bought it, I was like, why did I buy this? Like I'm not even excited to play it. What am I doing? And how wrong I was. This game it was so much fun. Like and very, very challenging too. Very fun to play in co-op though. I loved the story, even though like sometimes I got like I was like, oh, I'm annoyed with this, but like it's a story that makes you think. And like sort of think about all the possibilities and kind of try to figure out what's going on, I guess. You're trying to figure out what's going on. And
it is very abstract. There's a lot left up to interpretation, which isn't everyone's jam. Honestly, it's only kinda even mine at all, but
yeah,
you know, it works. It's good.
Yeah, for sure. And abstract, I think, is the best word to use for it. It's just it's definitely very abstract in its storytelling. The gameplay is a lot of fun. The biomes are really cool. The game specifically, I guess it was a launch game for the PS5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
So it utilizes the PS5 controller and like that good haptic feedback.
Genuinely an underrated element of the PS5 as a console. I feel like it's not getting as much credit and discussion as it deserves. It is such a cool little device that can do so many neat things just with more detailed rumbling. I didn't expect just how much that could add to the experience in a number of ways. It's really cool.
Yeah. Or even just like the weight it puts on like the triggers sometimes, depending on like what weapon you're using.
Yeah, or like in Returnal's case specifically, you aim your weapon in order to shoot by holding the left trigger, but only a little ways. If you hold it down all the way, like there's a point where it has resistance, and then if you pull the trigger beyond that point, then you go into your alternate fire mode. So you don't need like a completely different button for the other, ways that you can fire a given weapon or anything like that. You just, pull the trigger in a little more, and it works really well.
Hell yeah.
It's also one of the PlayStation. I need to just like make a list of all the PS5 games that do this, because it rains. Like when there's rain in the game, there are just these little, like just all over the controller. It can do detailed enough rumbling or whatever that there are just these little rumblies just all over the controller. Just it just feels kind of like little raindrops on the controller, and it's really neat. Every time a game does that, it makes me happy.
That was like when I played Astro's Playroom.
Yep, it does that too, and it's great.
Oh, I love that. But yeah, agreed. Number 9, Robotic wrote, hardware designers ought to pursue tactile sensations beyond just VR.
Yeah, that's
honestly,
true.
Yeah. There's a lot of potential there.
That reminds me, I didn't finish Half-Life Alyx this year. I need to do that, but oops.
I feel like you're going to be saying that for a lot of games.
Yeah, I will.
You're gonna need a counter in the left-hand corner of the screen.
Oh god.
Ding.
If I had the ability, I would do that right now. I don't know if I could. Well, okay, somebody else talk about a game. Red, what's another game that you loved from 2023?
Oh yeah, are you ready for this?
Oh, yeah.
I think you are.
Yeah.
It wasn't for 2023, it's from a lot longer ago. Kingdom Hearts 2, so I finally played Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh my god. So happy.
You've gotten ahead of me. I still haven't finished it.
I did it. I played it. I've played the Kingdom Hearts 2. Everyone leave me alone, please.
Was it as good as everyone says it is?
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Okay, here's the thing that I noticed, and I had some a little bit of confirmation bias with a friend of mine when I talked to her about it, and I went, hey, so I noticed that in Kingdom Hearts 2, they cared a lot less about the Disney stories and a lot more about their weird anime stuff, and I was right. It just the vibe I immediately caught from it was, I'm like, oh, it's okay, so it's making its own stories, going away from the Disney, which is a good and a bad thing. Because on one hand, I would like to see more of the Disney stories interweaving with what I like to call weird anime bullshit. But also, I get why they want to stay separate from it, because do we really want to see Cinderella with a Keyblade? Maybe? Maybe not. It's up to you.
That sounds pretty wild. I'd be here for that, actually.
I would be here for it. No. But I know that she's going to I know there's a Cinderella world in the next game. And I hope she gets a Keyblade. I sincerely do. Right. We get a whole glass slipper Keyblade.
Okay, so Red, when you get to that, when you get to Birth by Sleep and you play through that world, I would really love if you could just send me a message. Just shoot a message to me on Discord and just tell me your thoughts. Because specifically, well, I don't want to say too much, so I'm just gonna stop because I don't want to spoil anything. But
fair.
Yeah, there's just some stuff that I think you're just gonna like. That's all I'll say.
I did a quick Google and have indeed found a series of art that someone did on Pinterest, maybe on somewhere else. I don't know. That's just where I found it. I barely ever go to Pinterest. But it is a series of Disney princesses with Keyblades, and I am glad that it exists.
Yeah.
I don't think Jessie from Toy Story counts as a Disney princess, but I will happily accept the art.
Can we have the Pixar ladies as that too? Because I would like to see Joy from from Inside Out with a Keyblade alongside Sadness as her Riku. Can we have that? That'd be funny as hell.
Honestly,
If there are any artists listening, please do that.
Please.
This set has Merida, but of course it does. I don't see any other Pixar people.
And optimistically, I would like for them to do Merida's original story, that canceled script that we got in the first half of the movie, because that would be much more interesting than what we got. But
Yeah.
anyways, I got into it. Honestly, Kingdom Hearts 2 has a lot of really great parts. I don't know what happened with some of the Pirates of the Caribbean's parts. I don't know who decided to have specific. Oh, if they go in the sunlight or the moonlight, you can't hit them. Mechanics, I get it, but also the most annoying part of the game for me was that specifically. There wasn't even an Ansem boat this time. I was so happy there was no Ansem boat.
I mean, well, okay, I don't want to say too much, but there was some kind of ship thing at the end,
No, but it's not just whole ass Ansem sticking out of a boat. That was my main thing.
Okay,
It's just whole ass Ansem being like, "Hello, Sora, how are you?" That's horrifying. That was horrifying. I went.
Though that does sound to me
Why?
like it works well with what Number is talking about in the chat, which is a Cars world where Sora, Donald, and Goofy would turn into cars.
Oh my god.
And I want that, actually. Now that you've said that, I want it. I want to see that.
Same.
That would be good, actually.
Yes.
I mean, I'm also still waiting on a Star Wars world now that they own Star Wars, but that'll probably never happen. And that's fine, because it would probably only happen for, cynical money reasons, but at the same time, it would still be cool. So I don't.
I mean, I feel fairly confident that a Star Wars world might be happening in KH4 based on some of the clips they've put out.
If anything, I'm sad that it's moved away from actual Final Fantasy characters, because would a fight between Darth Vader and Sephiroth be the most pandering thing I've ever seen in my life? Yes, it would, and I want it. I would still enjoy that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into it too deeply, but I will say that in general, our Kingdom Hearts sort of moving away from Final Fantasy is just a bad thing in my opinion. I hope they bring more Final Fantasy characters back as the series continues.
Just so Y'shtola and Donald can talk about magic or something.
Oh my god, that would be so cool.
Can it be anything else but Final Fantasy VII, though? Please? Can it just be other characters? Just anyone from Final Fantasy IX. Anyone from Final Fantasy IX.
Nomura won't allow it.
Wasn't Vivi in 2?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he was in 2 and he got the crap kicked out of him.
Yeah.
No. I would actual legit, a Final Fantasy IX. Even on Destiny Island, you put Titus there, for God's sake.
Yeah.
Hey, I am a Titus stan, but yeah.
So am I, but they put Waka there too, so that's the problem.
Okay, yeah, fair. I was also, I didn't even realize until after I'd beaten the first game, but I was like, man, they really didn't include any characters from before 7. None of the 2D, no Final Fantasy VI characters or anything, or Cecil, I don't know. That would be fun. I understand that they would have to design the character models in 3D or the character designs rather in 3D in a way that they hadn't necessarily, but they still could, and it would be cool. But
I casually gesture over to the PSP games that were fighting games that were all of the Final Fantasy characters.
Yeah, see, they can do it when they want to.
Yeah, they could do it when they could do it when the ADHD comes in. You can't tell me that this that Nomura does not have ADHD, because he's like, Final Fantasy VII is specifically my hyperfixation, and also zippers, and also pretty men.
Actually, Red, I'm gonna change that. It's not zippers anymore. It's actually plaid. Plaid is the thing.
I thought it was belts.
Well, I guess belts and plaid.
Is it just too many things now? Does Nomura have too many clothing obsessions?
He has too many clothing obsessions.
He is such an interesting person. I honestly you just I don't know. There's so much like under the surface of Kingdom Hearts of just like what was your thought behind that? I just want to talk to you like one on one and like let's go over this.
Yeah.
Because
Nomura's an interesting figure because he is genuinely an interesting creator, but he's
Yeah.
also one of those people who gets the auteur treatment to a degree where like people will blame him for things that he didn't do, or like talk about him as though he's the creator of a given Final Fantasy game when he like super wasn't.
Right.
Like,
Yep.
it's weird.
Yeah, I guess wasn't he interviewed recently? I think where he said just that. He was like, yeah, like it's funny when I read comments on the internet and people blame me for things. I'm like, I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
oh, poor man.
Oh, hi, Zane.
Oh, we have another chatter.
Yes. Hello.
Zane Russell. Hello. Good afternoon. Yes, Setzer was in 2. In Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of the characters that are featured in Kingdom Hearts are purely just because they're Nomura's designs.
That is also just such a weird. Why
I don't
Why
know about
Setzer?
Setzer. Yeah.
Like,
Who is
well, yeah,
Setzer?
exactly. He's from Final Fantasy VI, but he's not like a major. Like, okay, imagine if the only character from Final Fantasy X that it included was like Kimari, like, and
Okay,
that's
that would be
even
kind of funny though.
well, okay, yeah, that's fair, and that's also honest. Like, Kimari's more important to the plot. I feel it's been a minute since I played 6, but still, like, yeah, I don't know. That was
I don't
strange.
know who this guy even is. Oh my! I just googled him.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, I mean, 6 is weird. It has a core cast, and then it has like a butt ton of just mostly even optional characters that like don't matter all that much, and that was a more common thing, back then compared to now. I mean, even 7 has 2 completely optional characters, right? But like, that's just a weird choice. That's a very weird choice. Or, yeah, I don't know. It's odd.
Yeah. I think one interesting thing to talk about when it comes to Kingdom Hearts 2 specifically, and like its storytelling when it comes to Disney and Final Fantasy, is like Red was kind of saying, it does move a little away from, I guess, incorporating those elements into the central plot of the game. So that's why Worlds and like the Disney stuff specifically tends to feel kind of like filler because you're just going to Worlds and doing these like condensed stories, and then you move on and it really didn't impact anything. And that's, I love Kingdom Hearts 2 story on a broad scale, moment to moment. It's not always my favorite. Gameplay, it's pretty fun.
It's a common video game pacing issue in the first place, especially for like longer games like RPGs. So I'm not too surprised that it would fall into it and use the Disney worlds as a reason for that. Just, the like, oh, we'll have a broad thing that you need to do, and then instead of having a bunch of actual meaningful story motion on the way to that broad thing, we'll just separate the broad thing into 6 things and have you go to different places to get them.
Yeah.
And not do anything narratively significant until you get them all, basically. Like,
yeah.
So, it's unsurprising. But
yeah, and Kingdom Hearts 1 was really the only game that incorporated that. And it's a shame. I mean, I think 2, another thing is that like Kingdom Hearts 2 is very much a game that came about because, or not came about, but is a product of the criticism that was received for Kingdom Hearts 1. And I don't necessarily think a lot of good came from that. For example, like in Kingdom Hearts 1, even though it's a little discombobulated at times, I love Kingdom Hearts 1, and I think like it incorporates interesting level of design, if not a little confusing at times, where Kingdom Hearts 2 kind of goes the exact opposite, and it's just like, yes, let's give you hallways and no platforming at all, and it's just kind of uninteresting. And it's a shame because I really love the core story of Kingdom Hearts 2. But
as someone who kind of hated the platforming in Kingdom Hearts 1,
you're glad.
I get it. But also, I get that. Like, I've played those sequels also where like the first one was like, oh, this is cool, but it just needs polishing. But that this is kind of not as good as it could be. And then they're like, oh, okay, in the sequel we'll just remove it. And it's like, that's not what I asked for.
Yeah.
Like, Mass Effect fans are very familiar with that. That's yeah, I get it.
Yeah, for sure. But also, real quick, before because we've been talking about Kingdom Hearts 2 for a while, so I'll just say real quick that I also played it this year, replayed it, I should say, and I played it on critical mode, and I had intended to do the whole game on critical mode and do all the super bosses, and then I kind of got burnt out by it, so I stopped, but I did beat the game. It's just I got through maybe 4 super bosses and was like, nah, I'm just gonna stop. But very, very fun. Highly recommended. It was cool.
Well, since we're talking about things that are Final Fantasy adjacent, Final Fantasy XVI is pretty good. I don't. It's a weird one because there is predictably, as there is every time a Final Fantasy game comes out, a lot of mixed opinions on it, and the people who hate it are extremely strong and vocal about it. I think it's pretty good. It's not one of my favorite Final Fantasy games. It is yet again another one. I'm near the end of it. I haven't played it. Sorry, I haven't played it. I have played it, just haven't finished it. What did you say, Red? Sorry.
No, when you said there's a lot of hate coming out because it's a new Final Fantasy game, I go, and in other news, water is wet.
Right, yeah. That's, I don't think there's been a mainline Final Fantasy game that hasn't gotten people being like, that's not even Final Fantasy since, 11?
That's not Final Fantasy VII.
At the earliest. Right, yeah, it's a series that has always very much experimented with its identity and what it is and is not, right? What it is that defines it, to a point where, honestly, Final Fantasy is strange in that, if you ask me what defines Dark Souls and sets Dark Souls apart from other similar games, I could point out a number of fairly specific things that Dark Souls has that even most other games trying to mimic Dark Souls don't, right? Final Fantasy is weird because even when it's something completely different, it still has always felt like Final Fantasy to me. There's something in the... Well, see, this is why it's hard. I was going to say there's something in the aesthetic of it, but that aesthetic has changed a good deal too over the years in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not even just something so simple as oh, there's a chocobo in it, that means it's Final Fantasy. But I don't know, there is a vibe to the series that remains even when everything that you'd think would be creating the vibes has changed. It's weirdly intangible, and I have not been able to figure out exactly why that is, but yeah, I don't know. I understand that the aesthetic and kind of the serious dark European fantasy situation, plus the real time, more Devil May Cry combat than Final Fantasy in a lot of ways combat. There are a lot of ways in which it is a pretty big departure from how Final Fantasy has historically done things, but there's also, it's a Final Fantasy ass game in a lot of ways, especially as you go on. Just thematically and aesthetically, even narratively, there's just a lot of Final Fantasy in it. And yeah, I don't know, it's pretty good. I have my problems with it. I think there are a good deal of shortcomings and missed opportunities that I've noticed as I go. It's also one of those, it has a time skip in it that feels really weird. There's a point where it's just anyway, after that extremely important thing, years later, and I'm like, whoa, okay, wait.
Anime time skip.
Yeah, time skips can be very good, but if you don't adequately set them up, and if you make it, and if you have them happen immediately after something that there should be a lot of immediate fallout for, weird, just random example, but when Naruto does a time skip, it's yeah, this thing that just happened is going to involve a lot of inaction over the course of the next while, so we're going to use that time to train, and then after the time skip, continue the story on something else, right? This felt very much oh man, this is huge. I can't wait to see the fallout of this. Oh, 5 years later. Okay, sure. Why not? Yeah, I don't know. It is a game with problems, but it is also a game that I admire some of what it does, and it's interesting. The narrative stuff is largely pretty good. I don't know. The demo hooked me at the very least, and then it continued mostly on a similar level of quality. Just yeah, I don't know. Not a perfect game, but definitely a Final Fantasy game, and I am enjoying it. So
I would like to play it. I did play the demo because admittedly when I was seeing the trailers come out, I I just wasn't. I mean, keep in mind that I've actually never played a Final Fantasy on launch. And if you really get down to it, I haven't played much Final Fantasy, even though I love Final Fantasy. Like, I've only played 7 and 14. But like this game just, it didn't grab me. And so that's why initially I was like, I don't know, I'm probably not going to touch it. But the demo was really good. I was surprised.
The narrative hook in there had me just 100% on board, honestly. So yeah.
Yeah, and it is funny how people, like, before I get sort of maybe being hesitant about the changes, but like I also think that, you know, Final Fantasy over the years, I mean, games in general, any story changes over time. Just gotta, you know, give it a chance.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm glad to hear that you were liking it, because yeah, I heard very mixed things, and still hear mixed things, to be honest.
Yeah, and you know, understandable. It is a mixed game on some level. It's just also one with a lot of, you know, weird nonsense surrounding its, you know, reception.
Yeah.
So it can be hard to separate it all. Oh, I will say also, one complaint that I heard a lot was that the side quests felt very like nothing and kind of vapid and empty and time wasty. And I genuinely don't feel like I played the same game as anyone who says that, because they are narratively and thematically quite significant. There are a number of them that I have thought very much adds to the story and plot and themes of the game. I don't know. So you always make room for other people to have different opinions, but sometimes someone says something and you're just like, what? How? And yeah, saying that the side quests in 16 feel empty is one of those for me. But anyway, yeah, pretty good game. Enjoying it.
Nice. Well, I mean, I guess sticking on the Final Fantasy train, I have to mention a game that I put a lot of time into. Well, and also Sam put a lot of time into, and we want to get Red to put a lot of time into someday. It's Final Fantasy XIV.
We're Final Fantasy XIV players. We want everyone to put a lot of time into it. It's a very evangelical fan base, and that's because it's just an incredible game somehow. It's better than it makes sense to be. It's good.
Red. I could hear your groan in the background.
I'm sure we talked about this. I'm sure we talked about this last time, but I don't remember, so I need to ask for a brief overview of what your experience with 14 is.
I've gotten up to a certain point. I don't know exactly what level I'm up to, but like I'm up to a certain point. My friend, who is a Final Fantasy 14 person who has been trying to get me to play it. They are trying to get me to coerce me to play it by promising me free commissions if I finish it. But ooh baby
like
does but ooh baby, my ADHD has hands and it wants to play things where I don't have to interact with humans.
You don't. For what it's worth, you can get through almost the entirety of the main story without ever having to do a thing with other players.
That is true now, yeah.
Yeah, but I also don't want to give my money to it.
You don't have to until the end of the second expansion.
But it's still the second expansion, and then everybody's going to be bugging me to buy it and have a subscription.
Well, because at that point, you'll have to. I can't imagine getting to Heavensward and not wanting to subscribe, but you know, I don't know. I guess you could see. But...
Also, Stormblood is a part of that now.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I know, like, this is not the only time I've heard a song and dance about this when it comes to, like, like any kind of MMO, and I've just had so many rough experiences with it at this point. It might not be a good idea for me to be like, okay, cool, I'm gonna play this thing online, and then completely forget that it exists and forget to pay the subscription. That's where I'm at.
I mean, you know, yeah that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, like, it is a game that, at this point, I've almost put 700 hours into. And Sam, would you like to share yours, or would you prefer not
to?
No.
No. Okay, look, here's the thing about... I will keep this soapbox short. Here's the thing about playtime in Final Fantasy XIV. When you do really get into the game, there gets to a point where two things are true at once. One, you've put an embarrassing and probably unhealthy amount of time into it overall. And that is true. That is not a false statement. But also, in addition to that, the actual like number of playtime hours that the game records for you is pretty much meaningless. Because like I will have it on, like I'll just idle sometimes, just because it's very comfy, and I could just have the game on while I'm doing other things. Or sometimes, like I have other friends who play, and we'll do like G poses, where we get little pictures of our characters for each other or whatever, and that is technically time in game. It is not time spent playing Final Fantasy XIV in any meaningful sense, right? Or like, especially if you get into RP or something like that, at that point you're engaging in a social situation with Final Fantasy XIV as the medium for it, and that's that's a very different thing. Yeah, there comes a point where it is not untrue that you've spent an embarrassing amount of time in Final Fantasy XIV. It's also just not like you don't really know at that point how much time you spent actually actively playing Final Fantasy XIV, because it's just kind of a part of your life in various ways. And yeah, I don't know. Point is, it's good.
It is good. And to be honest with you, that's a good point, because like a lot of the game, like at least for you too, some of the time you were just like tagging along with me and watching me go through main story stuff.
Yep. And often during that, if there's nothing I have to actively do there, I'll be reading or something, right? Like, yeah,
right. Yeah, and I was gonna say too, now I'm doing that as I guide my beginning players in Final Fantasy XIV. For context, Red, I just got a few of my friends into 14, and so I've been their guide, and it's been quite fun. But so in 2023, I got through the Shadowbringers expansion and Endwalker. Well, most of Endwalker. And Shadowbringers is easily a favorite game of mine, I would say.
It is legitimately like in the runnings for best Final Fantasy story.
Yeah.
And that's not like there's competition there, to say the least, right? Like that's not a small statement, but Shadowbringers is legitimately just yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I bring up the amount of time I played because, like, my one friend, I don't want to say exactly what he said, but basically he asked me, hey, how many hours till I get to this location? And I was like, oh, I've been playing this for 600 hours and I still have not gotten there. Like, this game is, like, basically, like, with the stories themselves, it's like 5 games in one, but then tack on everything else and it's like 10 games in one. There's like so much content. I probably said this in the last podcast, but like you literally could play this game the rest of your life and still have stuff to do. But Shadowbringers specifically, when we're talking about like the main story of the game, Shadowbringers was such a rewarding gameplay experience. Just the story is just it's so good. Everything about it is so rewarding. The way it puts characters in certain situations that challenges them and helps them grow and weaves itself like perfectly into the narrative, and it's very high stakes. And philosophically it's interesting, and just lore wise it's interesting. It's so good. I love Shadowbringers. It's just a shame that it is the 3rd expansion or 4th story in the game. Because it takes you a long time to get to it. And there is good stuff before, but it is a shame that it takes so long to get to that, which I think is a lot of times the critique when it comes to people who maybe haven't played the game, because it is a lot to get into. I totally understand that.
Yeah. I am an ARR defender on some level. Like, I think that people overplay how bad A Realm Reborn is, like the first part of it. Mm-hmm. But like, even so, it's... It's really just not the best introduction compared to what the game becomes. Yeah. And it is unfortunately a pretty long introduction for what the game becomes, and one that you can skip, but if you do, you are pretty much guaranteed to regret it in the long run, narratively speaking. Like, well, I guess I don't know if you would, because you might not know what you're missing, I suppose, but it does so much setup. It's such an important part of all of it. Yeah, I don't know. It's it's the mediocre first season before the rest of the show is incredible. It's the first 2 seasons of Star Trek: The Next Generation, so to speak. Like, yeah.
I think too, even though like story wise, like because it was such a big overhaul from the first version of the game, you know, the story is not that incredible. You know, the quests are very much feel like an MMO in a bad way. But like also there's a lot of setup happening that I didn't pick up on until I kept going through the game. And returning to it makes me love A Realm Reborn, even though it is kind of rocky.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
All that to say, not to be obnoxious about it, because I know it can be obnoxious, but Red, if you ever do decide to get into the game again and like really, just kind of give it a shot, then let us know. We will help.
Yes.
Happily.
But also no pressure.
Right. No pressure,
yeah.
Of course. It'll just make us happy and we'll all have fun together. That's all.
But yeah, I'll stop talking about Final Fantasy XIV now. Is there any other games that we want to talk about for favorite games of 2023 that we played?
Oh gosh, probably. It's possible I'm thinking of a game that came out this year.
Ooh. Oh. No, that breaks the law, Sam. You can't talk about
that. It did come out last year. Okay. All right. No, let's talk about Blasphemous. I don't think... Well, I know Danielle hasn't played it. Red, you haven't played Blasphemous, have you?
I've seen the trailers, and I think I might have it somewhere.
Okay.
Let's check.
The first Blasphemous was a few years back, and it's one of my favorite like Metroidvania games. It was my favorite until I replayed Hollow Knight and realized that is a perfect masterpiece, and I love it so much. But Blasphemous is basically taking the aesthetics of like the Catholic Church and morphing it to turn it into a fantasy setting dominated by a religion that is entirely centered around atoning for sin and shame through pain and suffering. It is really dark and really violent in a way that, because I'm not a person who's just like, oh yeah, it's bloody, I want it, but it's such a... The whole aesthetic is so very well speaking to the themes that it's tackling of like religious shame and atonement and such, that it's really good and cool, and I love it a lot. And Blasphemous 2 is also very good. I think gameplay wise, it's pretty definitely the better of the two. It's got some tweaks and improvements that make it a notably more enjoyable experience in a number of ways. Narratively, I don't know if it's quite as strong. It's really when a big element of your story that makes it as good as it is the world that you establish. It's usually pretty hard to follow that up, right? When you've already had all that interesting stuff laid out in the first place and can't just ride on that again. But it moves that whole concept forward in some interesting ways. Like, well, Blasphemous 1 was mostly kind of an exploration of the setting and concepts that it was bringing up. Blasphemous 2 is attempting to be more of a resolution of it. Because, like, the first game doesn't really offer answers. It's just an exploration, which is, it does end up being rather dark and cynical as a result. Not in a bad way, I don't think, but it does. 2 attempts to try and bring that around into something a little more... hopeful might not be the entire right word, but maybe something like that. Attempts to actually give answer to it on some level, and it does do an interesting job doing that. It's really good, and I enjoyed it very much. And I acknowledge that part of that is because of my evangelical upbringing, and in general, if a story comes out and it's about religious trauma or religious shame or whatever, I'm kind of already there on some level. But yeah, I very much enjoyed these games, and Blasphemous 2 was a standout experience for me last year for sure.
I remember you've mentioned Blasphemous before, and that is a game that I do need to get to, because I know nothing about it apart from your comments. So yeah,
it's good. I think at least I like it.
Cool. Well, Red, what about you? Any other favorites you want to mention?
Well, I like part of me wants to mention Baldur's Gate 3, but it's one of those things where I'm like, I only got to the second act and then I bailed. So,
Ooh.
like, I not like in a bad way, but in a my ADHD hit me so hard during that I just was like, I am not interested in this as I was during the first act, so I'm a pop away. But at the same time, for what it is, don't let me discourage you, loyal humans of the indie gamosphere. Like, still get it if you're interested in it. If this is your style of RPG, you will likely very much like this. But I will probably end up finishing it probably in 2024. It's just gonna take me a bit because it's so dense and there's so much stuff packed in there. And is it overrated? Probably. But it is one of the better above or a CRPGs that we've had in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And voice acting's great. Like, it won the awards it did for a reason.
Yeah.
And it beat the brakes off of those AAA games for a reason.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Talk about a
And
game
it,
coming out of nowhere and just dominating
and
everything
it
unexpectedly.
and it made those Spider-Man fans angry for a reason. But in also, please do not read guides online about like how to build the perfect character, because I guarantee you that will be part of what like makes you go away from this game. Because I did that because I'm like, okay, so it'll be because I usually use like as a tabletop RPG player that does a lot of tabletop RPG stuff. I like to read like Treant Monk's guide to this, Treant Monk's guide to that, as a way to like an outline. I found that actually ruined my experience a little bit with Baldur's Gate, so
Mm.
go in as blind as you can. Like, even if you see like a few clips online, that's fine, but just kind of wing it and see what happens. If your first run ends up an absolute garbage fire, then it should end up as an absolute garbage fire. It's fine. Don't worry about it. It's a TTRPG that you can replay. It's not like you're playing it the one time with other human beings.
Mm.
This is the one chance you can be a murder hobo and your consequences will be in game and your actual friends won't be mad at you. So if that's what you choose to do, it's okay. I don't promote it. I don't like it, but like if you want to do that, go ahead. There's probably an achievement for it. But that's the thing. This is like what everybody who has played tabletop and went away from it because they're like, "Oh, well, it's not like video games," because I actually deal with that a lot because for those who don't know, I'm a librarian that also teaches tabletop to young kids during a lot of my programs. So any kind of tabletop RPGs and stuff. There was a lot of times the constant struggle of, hey, you cannot do this in this game. But why? There's consequences to your actions. But why? That's how real life works. That's
Yeah.
I don't know how I could better explain that to you. And it affects everyone else in the room. And then you have never seen a group of grade schoolers all publicly shame another grade schooler for daring to try to kill an NPC more so than when this boy tried to kill my anthropomorphic giant palmetto bug. Boy, it was insane. But I'm saying this with the best of intentions. If Baldur's Gate 3 is on sale and it's like $30, get it. If you don't know for sure if you're gonna like it as someone who may not like this sort of thing, don't get it.
Hmm.
If you think you might like it, 100% get it, but wait for a sale. If you don't think that you would like it and you're hoping that this game will change your mind about tabletop or CRPGs, don't get it because it's gonna frustrate you. And a lot of this has D&D 5e mechanics. And yes, it is simplified, but it's also they kind of do certain things in D&D 5e that like will make your head hurt a little bit because some things don't make sense. So your mileage may vary. I really enjoyed myself playing it. I liked the choices I made. I liked my character. I had a bit of wish fulfillment remaking my first ever character that got beaten by the raw end of the my character was more or less a paladin without being a paladin, and my friends were all murder hobos, and they made my life miserable during it, but I still had fun. But I got to do that. If that's not like, if you don't have that sort of like drive, don't get it. But if you have that drive and you want to have that like tabletop role playing experience, but maybe not have an annoying DM like me, then go for it. You're still gonna roll ones though. Just telling you now.
I will
It'll be
add
the most fun.
I will add my my own recommendation with fewer caveats, I guess, just because I literally the only reason I haven't finished it is because I was playing it through co-op with my partner, and said partner got into Final Fantasy XIV role-playing soon afterwards. And we have not had as much time and opportunity to play through it co-op, and I have considered just playing through it on my own in the meantime, but there are so many other games I haven't finished yet, and so many long-ass games that I haven't finished yet, or haven't even started playing, that have come out recently, that I'm excited to, that I figure that the game that I would, still rather play co-op with my partner can wait a little bit. But I have been really, really loving the game. These developers, they also made the Divinity Original Sin games, and even those at the time were the closest I had ever felt to playing a tabletop game through a video game. So they were a perfect developer choice for this, and they really came through. I've enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3 very much.
I will chime in here and say that I played 4 hours of Baldur's Gate 3. And I didn't stop for lack of enjoying it. I did enjoy it. It's just that other games kind of took over. But I am excited to get into it. I've heard so many good things, and I've never played a game. This is not a game that I typically would play. So it's very new to me. Like, I was playing with mouse and keyboard. I'm like, wait, you have to like click around to move your character? What the heck?
Wait, that's the control scheme they go for on PC?
Yeah.
I played it on PS5. That's interesting, huh? Okay.
Yeah, I was very I was very thrown off, and I did sort of get used to it, but again, 4 hours and I haven't touched it since. I'm sure it's gonna take a little getting used to playing it again.
Mouse and keyboard is how all the CRPGs have worked for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, mouse and keyboard, yeah, I'd forgotten that. I mean, when I think about the older ones that I've played on PC, I guess clicking to move is how that is. That just always strikes me as a weird and antiquated way to move in a video game. But
That's how you. Well, think about it. That's how you move your tokens when you're playing tabletop.
Well, okay, now I'm imagining it as like you click and hold on your character and then pick them up like you're picking up your Mii's on the Wii.
I mean, that's how I always view it in my head. That's how I always view it in my head, so that's why I'm like, oh.
Well, now I'm wishing that Baldur's Gate 3 did that. I just want to like pick up Astarion by the scruff of the neck and just have him just like rah in my arms while I just move him where I want.
To make it a lot funnier.
He would hate that, and it would be hilarious. He definitely deserved best voice acting. I will say, like, there were a lot of great voice performances this year too. Like, it was not, it wasn't just him, but he deserved it. He did great.
Yeah. So something I want to mention real quick, I have, I want to briefly comment on, because I know we've talked a lot about Final Fantasy, so I don't want to get more into it, but I just want to mention that I played Crisis Core.
Give him a shot.
The remake, right?
Oh, you suck, bro.
And
We get to it.
I went into it like very
got to it.
skeptical,
Got a team with that.
because what I was seeing like, it's hard to say, but it looked horrendous.
I couldn't
to
take
me,
it out
like,
that
gameplay.
lot quick now, can I?
Slot system
1,000,000%.
did not look enjoyable.
Uh-oh, the dragon's still here.
And
More people turning into Taken.
sorry about that loudness. We had a technical error. Apologies. Oh god, I'm so sorry to everybody's ears.
What happened?
I don't really know, to be honest. I just know there was a volume thing.
Oh. Weird.
There was a volume level on my end that shouldn't have been on, so apologies, everyone. No, it wasn't another tab. It was just apparently I still don't know what that volume is, so I'll have to figure that out after stream. Fun times. But anyway, yeah, Crisis Core was just a game that I really just wasn't looking forward to. It looked like they polished it out in the PS5, so I was like excited about that, and I just wanted to experience it, even though I was kind of nervous about it. I was nervous how it would affect like the canon of Final Fantasy VII. Now that I've played it, there are some like iffy things, yes, but I think in general, I do really like Crisis Core, like at its core. Like it's just it's just good. I like Zack a lot. It does feel like a game of its time. It feels like a PSP game still, and like all the side missions that you can do. But there's just something charming about it, and like the moments that are really effective do such a good job on selling you on these characters and like what the game is trying to do. There's so many like moments that made me go, huh, like I didn't expect to be so moved by this game. It's just, yeah, it was very good. I liked it a lot.
I will add, since I played that also, and I will also keep it short because you're right, we've talked a lot about Final Fantasy and Final Fantasy adjacent things, but yeah, replaying, because I played it on the PSP back in the day, but replaying it, it struck me how goddamn doofy games, so many games were, just the aesthetic and writing and so many things about it are just kind of doofy, and that could be a barrier for some people, but you know, as long as you can just kind of accept its earnestness for what it is, it's not really a problem. And, you know, Zack is that way too, the character. It's doofy and earnest, and that kind of works. It has problems, but I feel like overall it does well at what it does and fits the role it's trying to fit. You know, it's nice. I enjoyed revisiting it.
Yeah. I wanted to replay it prior to playing Rebirth, but I just didn't have time, sadly. But
yeah,
but game is good. All right.
I've got one.
Okay.
Oh no, wait, unless there's another thing.
No, please go ahead.
Okay. I know that Danielle still hasn't. Red, did you oh, we will talk about Alan Wake 2. We will talk about it for sure. But that wasn't the one that I quite had in mind for yet. Red, did you ever play Lethal Company?
I have not.
We should all you two should buy Lethal Company, and we should play it on stream after this.
I think
no,
I
we don't
did
have to do that necessarily, but yeah, well, we should play it. I forgot that you bought it. We should play it sometime. It is so fun. Like there's a reason that it kind of took over the internet for a minute when it came out, right? Like it is legitimately it's just one of those experiences that is crafted perfectly to give the players the right freedoms in the right ways and the right contexts to do just for some very weird and funny and strange things to happen while playing it. It is a blast. I don't know how much I have to say about it necessarily, honestly. Like my specialty is much more in like game stories or whatever. Like this kind of very open-ended multiplayer experience thing isn't as much my forte. I'm not as familiar with exactly how to talk about it. There are people on the internet better for that, but like it is really, really fun. There are a few games that I've had quite that much fun with, just like playing it with friends for an evening. You know, it's great. It came out and it took everything over, and it deserved it because it was really, really good.
Yeah, I definitely want to get to that because it looked really fun. So yeah, we'll definitely have to do that sometime. Do you want to talk about Alan Wake 2 now?
Sure. Alan Wake 2 is really good.
Cool.
Yep. No, I believe that Red played this too, right?
Alan Wake 2?
Yeah.
I have not.
Really? I don't know why I got the impression that you had then.
I wanted to. I think that might have been it.
Maybe so, yeah. Well, yeah, it's really good. Alan Wake is another, or I guess was, because Alan Wake 2 exists now, but, was a very good example of just like one of those games that comes out and is really great and interesting and cool, and the people who played it really liked it, and not enough of them did, and it didn't make enough money, and so it was pretty much just going to disappear into the ether forever. And for a while, even literally did, as like music licenses ran out and the original game was unpurchasable for quite a while. That sucked, and it still happens. It's happened to Spec Ops: The Line now, which is a crime. But anyway, the existence of Alan Wake 2 makes me very happy, is the point. I was waiting for that game for a long, long time. The quality of Alan Wake 2, the actual, like, just the fact that the game that we got as a sequel to Alan Wake is as transcendently good as it is mind-blowing to me. Like, they went for it with this one, and it worked. And in a lot of ways, even some of the stuff that Remedy has been playing with since their earliest games reached kind of their, like, their apex, right? Like, Remedy has always, for instance, played with FMVs, like with actual live action video integrated into their games, and it's usually worked pretty well one way or another, but it's also usually been pretty limited. Like, it worked really well in Alan Wake, but it was limited to just sometimes you saw some stuff that was on a TV, mostly, right? Like that was pretty much it. And then Quantum Break was a really interesting thing from them, where they literally had a, like, I think 4 or 5 episode television show with like hour-long episodes just in the game, and now and again you would get to the end of a chapter or whatever in the game, and the episode would play out with some scenes going differently depending on what you did in the game and some of the choices that you made. And that was very interesting. It felt a little stilted. It didn't quite, it wasn't as fully realized as, well, I don't know if it wasn't that it was fully realized, maybe just the concept. I don't want to get too into the weeds about Quantum Break. Point being, it was interesting. It was not incredible, right? Alan Wake 2 integrates its live action stuff in a way that feels not only narratively successful, but aesthetically, like, perfect. It's not that it's indistinguishable, right? It is an absolutely jaw-droppingly gorgeous game, don't get me wrong, but you can tell still, right? Like, we're not quite at that point of video game photorealism that you wouldn't be able to tell the difference, but that difference feels intentional. It feels like it's just as much a part of it as anything else, and it even feels thematically relevant on a number of levels. It works very well. It's just genuinely like a much better sequel to Alan Wake than I ever really would have thought I would get. Let alone just a sequel to Alan Wake, which I never thought I would get. And yeah, it was really good. It's another one that took a lot of awards, and very, very much deserved it. It's extremely good, and narratively very, very bold in a lot of ways. Kind of abstract in a way that not nearly as abstract as Returnal, but it does some really weird things. It's got a very postmodern approach to its story that is itself informed by the writing process, sort of. It's hard to even describe. I'm trying, but yeah, like, it's good is what it comes down to. It's good, and I am so very happy that it exists and that it did as well as it did. Yeah, just it's great. And for that matter, Control is good. I played that right before Alan Wake 2 because I still hadn't, and it's very good also. I'm looking forward to more of that. But yeah, it's good. Alan Wake 2 is fantastic, and I can't recommend it highly enough, for sure. I would still recommend playing the first one first. But yeah.
Yeah, all games I need to get to.
Yeah, for sure.
Um,
Too many good games.
so true. Oh, just give me a reason to talk about Hi-Fi Rush. Why don't you? We should talk
Yeah,
about that. Uh, yes, that's another game that I played this year. That was a favorite. I
I'd
did
forgotten
not.
that you actually like you mentioned it, but I'd forgotten that you actually like played it all the way through.
Well, I actually didn't. I shouldn't say that. I didn't finish it
Oh,
yet.
okay.
I um yeah, I I honestly, yeah, game of the year, honestly, I didn't even finish it and I'd probably agree with that despite my comments on Lies of P. Like it Hi-Fi Rush, like I do enjoy like I like playing a rhythm game from time to time. But what I was excited for about this game is how it like interwove that in the combat itself. I've never quite played a game like that. And stylistically, this game is so freaking awesome. Like the animation is so wonderful to look at. And as somebody who's not, I want to make sure I'm correct about this before I say it. I think this is a Bethesda game. Does anybody?
I mean, they published it, so it's not a Bethesda game in the same way that, Skyrim is a Bethesda game, but it is published by them at least, yeah.
Okay, so maybe what I'm about to say, you take it or leave it. But I was gonna say it just pops with color, and I'm just not used to that with Bethesda. And just so many things about it. Like the writing's like it's not like amazing, but like it's funny, it's very quippy. The characters are likable enough, and it's just fun to play. Like it was just I honestly I put it down because why did I put it down? I guess I got sucked into so many other games. Tango Gameworks made it. Okay. I don't actually know what other games that they've
I'm actually
made.
looking them up right now because
Okay,
it sounds familiar, but
Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested. But
I'd forgotten they made the Evil Within. So yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
not remotely the type of thing I actually forgotten because like the first trailer had something like from the creators of the Evil Within, and then in parentheses, yes, really.
yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm not familiar with Evil Within actually.
Oh
Let's
yeah,
look
it's
that up.
a
Yeah.
survival horror game made by one of the creators of Resident Evil in 2014, and then the sequel in 2017, which was apparently much better. I need to play them now that I've gotten into Resident Evil, but
I mean, that's probably why I'm not familiar with it since I don't do horror
yep.
typically. So that makes sense. But, cool. It's I mean, from seeing their work on here, it sounds like they do good work in general on their games. Ghostwire Tokyo is another one.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
I was familiar with that one, but it does exist.
yeah. But yeah. So this game, I think I got like 2/3 of the way through it. And also the soundtrack is pretty awesome, which I feel like is just expected going into it. This is just reminding me that I need to finish it. So yeah, Hi-Fi Rush, very good. Games to play if I want to be in a mood. Hell yeah. This game, yeah, for sure. Absolutely. But yeah. What about you, Red? Any others?
I played. What was it? I had it. It was there. Oh, wait a minute. Nope, that's back. Hey, so I played Cassette Beast.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I need to play that.
So Cassette Beast was really good. If anyone is just wanting to play something that's like Pokemon, but and not in the way where it's derogatory, then play Cassette Beast. The soundtrack is absolutely awesome. Might have disassociated a wee bit while listening to the song that's in the town. Like the main town that's there. Like I was just listening to this song and I'm like, this is such a wonderful thing. And I just kind of brainstormed for a while and went into meditation, and then I went, I need to be cleaning the apartment. And then so it extremely fun from there. But I love how much you can, like, with each beast that you catch, you can get a different type of power and strength, and there's very few beasts that I would say are useless because they all have their different uses. Because I've accidentally unlocked stupidly good combos before with certain cassette beasts paired up together. And I liked that there's like they are in cassettes. These are monsters that you can scan with cassettes, and then that player effectively acts as your digivice, so you can fuse with your bestie next to you when you unlock their quest line.
My God.
That's very good.
I love that.
And you gotta unlock their specific quest line though. For anyone who is going to play for the love of God, there are certain characters where you're not gonna unlock their quest line until a little later, or like they have a needlessly like long quest line to unlock. Just get the other character and that you have already points with, and then just go and beat up all the bad guys that's in the other character's storyline, with the exception of like the actual boss, and then go drag the other character to it. The game auto levels them.
Oh.
So while they're
Nice.
not the exact level you need them to be at, they're just like right there. Like, this is especially if you're kind of meh on one of the characters, because that some characters grow on you. Like, all the characters I think are great. Like the main crew that you pair up with, I think they're all great in their own ways. But there are some that I am more likely to pair up with than others. So
Yeah.
So you kind of have to put them on the back burner. They level up with you, so it's not like they're like 700 levels behind you. But you're still kind of like getting chunks of their backstory as they're talking to you at the campsite, and you're like, "Oh wow, you did what now?" "Oh, well, we're about to fight the final boss, so thanks for telling me that now. Bye." Also, there's romance options.
Ooh.
There are romance options.
That is always a plus for me, and I didn't know it about this game. So
You can
Good.
it's very much you can romance everyone, but like at the very end, like you can romance everyone, you can get all 5 of their little heart thingies, but at the end is when it like you have to choose one to have the final scene with, quote quote. And by final scene I mean like they just say like 2 or 3 more words to you, and that's about it. Like, it's not like, and then we got married and then we were best friends forever. No, it's literally like they say 2 or 3 more words to you and then goodbye. But for all of you new people that are if you play Cassette Beast, because I encourage you to play Cassette Beast. That, like, if it wasn't for Slay the Princess, that would have been my game of the year last year.
Ooh.
But as someone that is encouraging you to play Cassette Beast, use the plastic crab. It's one of the first monsters in the first areas. Pokemon's rules do not apply here. The first monster in the first area does not always suck. Plastic crab is super useful. Just evolve him in whatever way you want to. He's so much fun. I have a t-shirt with him on it, thanks to Yeti. I love the little bugger so much. It's just a little crab with a whole like traffic cone on him, and his eyeball is a red light.
Oh.
It's so great. I just please play Cassette Beast. This is another game that really should have been recognized, and I wish more people would play it. Also, I heard the DLC's not bad. I just got it not too long ago, and I haven't played it yet, but I want to. So go off. Go play Cassette Beast.
That's one that I've also heard a lot about, and just haven't actually played myself yet. But it looks really fun, so I'm glad you just talked about it, because that's making me want to play it even more. Actually, maybe I'm not glad. There's too many games on my list.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, cool. Any others we want to talk about? I know I probably have like one more in terms of like favorites.
If
But
it's the one I'm expecting it is, I have it too.
you go
So
ahead.
maybe you should. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it would we would be remiss to not at least mention Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is honestly the thing to me is that like one of the best proofs that this was a year with a lot of really really good games in it is that Tears of the Kingdom is not my obvious game of the year. Because like it's probably not even my game of the year, but it's close. And any other year where we didn't have this many genuinely just great games coming out, it probably would be. I have a complicated relationship with the Zelda series, honestly. Like, I enjoy it. I have played not all, but most of them, and certainly most of the, most like important, like Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess and etc. And I do enjoy the series, but not always as much as I feel like I should. And a lot of the classic elements of its gameplay can grate on me a little bit. So my favorite Zelda games have always been defined by which ones I think do the most interesting narrative stuff, which is frankly, like, the series is not usually that ambitious in that sense. So, like Majora's Mask has historically been my favorite because I find a lot of elements of the game rather frustrating. Like the experience of playing it is not bad, but not really my favorite. I don't love playing Majora's Mask, but I love the experience of Majora's Mask. And that's always been kind of like the way that my favorites work with the Zelda series, is which ones do enough interesting things that I can overlook the fact that I think they're kind of fine gameplay wise and never really love them. Which is also part of why I'm a huge defender of Phantom Hourglass. Don't at me, but it's a good game. Linebeck is the best. But Tears of the Kingdom, Breath of the Wild was far and away the one that I enjoyed playing the most, but not my favorite Zelda game. It didn't do enough interesting otherwise to make me like it more than Majora's Mask, all things considered. Tears of the Kingdom scratched both itches for me. I really appreciated it, a lot of the things that it did narratively, and I enjoyed it as much, if not more, than Breath of the Wild in terms of the actual process of play. I genuinely, like, I am so tired of open world games, honestly. I'm so done with it. It takes a really special one to get me into it. So I was afraid that, Breath of the Wild, but more, would not work for me, right? Like that I would have just had enough of it. But apparently not. And they did enough with it that was new to make me very much be all in on it in ways that I hadn't been for Breath of the Wild, even because, there's new stuff there. And most importantly, it feels like a connected, meaningfully existing world in a way that I'm not sure I've ever played a game that feels like it in the same way. Like, I would talk to a random NPC in one place and they would talk about the village that they're from, and then I would be randomly exploring and come across a village that I'd realize, oh, that's it, and then I'd talk to someone there who knows that person. People have connections and actual, like, meaningful, even emotional, things that connect them to different places in other areas. Like, it genuinely felt like a world that was being rebuilt by a bunch of people who have connections with each other and the world around them that sometimes the story would take me to, but other times I would just stumble across, which is very much a Breath of the Wild / Tears of the Kingdom kind of thing, is giving you things that are just there for you to find, not necessarily scripting everything out. And I don't know that I'd ever played a game that made me feel so much like I was part of a living, breathing world full of actual people with their own stories and feelings and such. Like, it just did such a good job with that. Made me cry a couple times, which we all know is easy. Like, I cry very, very easily in a good story, but Tears of the Kingdom did that to me a couple times. Once or twice in the main story, but mainly side stuff. Yeah, it was good. I liked it a lot. Enjoyed the hell out of it. Would have easily been game of the year if not for all the other incredible games that came out this year.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, like everything you just said, I wholeheartedly agree with. I will say that unfortunately, that all said, for me, like I don't think I enjoyed Tears of the Kingdom as much as you did in like the moment to moment. But I don't feel that's a reflection so much on Tears of the Kingdom as so much as a reflection of my own sort of the place I was in at the time when the game came out. Because like we talked about, you know, talking about like game burnout and stuff. I mentioned it sort of happened in June, but actually now that I think about it, it was probably more like May when this game actually released. Because I'm still kind of trying to pinpoint what it is that just wasn't working for me at the time. But I just did not get into the game. I enjoyed the hell out of it, but not in the way I enjoyed Breath of the Wild. But I only say that because again, I don't say that as a reflection on the game, but more just again where I was. Same with like I'll mention too, Spider-Man 2. That was a game I highly anticipated, did not get into it. But I have other reasons for that as well. But because Tears of the Kingdom, like at least narrative wise, I think is so much more like rich and interesting than Breath of the Wild. I still think I do like Breath of the Wild's story, but like Tears of the Kingdom just wow. At least I'm gonna say the broad story. Some of the moment to moment stuff was a little. I don't want to be specific here because I know because I think Red, you've only played Breath of the Wild, correct?
I have played a chunk of Breath of the Wild. You can spoil it, it's fine.
Well,
I'm saying this because I don't know when I will ever get back to it. That's one of those that I ADHD'd on so hard that I'm not sure when in the stratosphere I will get back to it. It's similarly to Skyrim.
I mean, honestly, there's not a lot to spoil in Breath of the Wild, which I think is one of the main distinctions here, because there absolutely is in Tears of the Kingdom. Like some good stuff that I wouldn't want anyone to know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Breath of the Wild just wasn't all that narratively significant.
Yeah, like I think Breath of the Wild for me was fine until I played Tears of the Kingdom and was like, oh, and I started like to rethink it. Like when I first played Breath of the Wild, I thought narratively it was fine, like not incredible per se, but I didn't sort of think about it as like, yeah, this is okay. You know, I thought it was a good story. And then Tears of the Kingdom came out and I was like, oh, wow. No, this is good. This is very good. I guess, yeah, I actually don't want to say anything just because I don't want to get too into specifics. But I will say also as somebody who's very burnt out by open world games, that probably didn't help my situation. As I played this game, I wanted to get I wanted it to be like Breath of the Wild, that experience that I had, because I got so engrossed in Breath of the Wild, and I just didn't have that experience with this one. And again, not a reflection on the game, just the place that I was at the time. I think I would like to hopefully return to it one day and find that love for the game again, or Breath of the Wild, that same feeling that I had with Breath of the Wild. But on first playthrough, unfortunately, I did not. But still an incredible game, for sure. The stuff that they were doing mechanically and story-wise, very interesting. And of course, you had the added layer of you got the depths and the Sky Islands on top of everything. So,
I will also say, best Zelda final boss, and it's not even close.
Yeah.
Like, just, it's so good.
I'm so glad you mentioned that. Yeah.
And I'm not going to go into specifics because, again, if you can go in blind and not know, then it's great. But like, man, I loved it so much. So
Hell
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why I forgot to mention that. That is such a good point. That final boss is so good. And I think honestly that I remember when I played that, it almost like, because I was sort of feeling a little down about not falling in love with this game. And then I got to the final boss and it almost redeemed like every sort of negative emotion I had because it was just, It was so good. Oh God. Oh man. So good. Yeah. But yeah. I do want to mention real quickly a game that I played this year. I don't know when it came out, but Sayonara Wild Hearts was a favorite of mine this year.
Yes.
Have you played this, Red?
Cycle. I feel like
That's
it's the
where
one
you
with the
cut out.
motorcycle. Sorry that I was trying to cut out little man being very loud. What?
You're trying to rob the internet of its cat content?
Okay, I know. Thank you.
Good. We don't want to hear cats. The internet hates cats. We established this.
Obviously, the internet hates cats. No, he has loud meow. But is it the motorcycle one? Am I wrong?
Yeah, the like playable pop album kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Yeah, that was
That's
the
how
best
the
way I was able
creators
to
described
describe
it. So
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played this game for the first time this year, and I don't want to get too much into it, but I'll just say it was one of those things, like my experience playing it was very, like it was on my list, but I don't think I would have gotten to it anytime soon had it not been for like some circumstances kind of like putting the pieces into place. I had a weird thing happen at my apartment where like, I guess they had installed a bunch of bathtubs in like various units, and the ceiling, like the smell of the seal was like giving me a headache because it was just such a strong smell. So I had to spend the night at my parents' house. And I decided to bring my Switch with me. And I was like, oh yeah, let's boot up Sayonara Wild Hearts. Like, what the heck? Well, let's try out this game. And I had like my headphones on, and I was like so engrossed in it. It was like a religious experience, honestly. Like it's just crazy how like a game like that is using such like abstract imagery can just move you and really feel what it's trying to do. It feels like it's a very empowering game, and just like stylistically just so incredibly interesting and fun to look at. And the music, oh my god, the music. Just it not only just one of my favorite games I played of the year, but just in general. It is one of my favorite games now. I love it so much. It was a magical experience, honestly. But yeah.
it's a great one.
Circle. Can you tell me a little bit more about Hi-Fi Rush? Because I have the #1 Hi-Fi Rush fan that just came into the chat.
Oh.
I just like, can we just circle back to that one real quick?
Oh, sure.
Tell us why you love it so much. Just give us a kind of a quick.
Oh, sure, yeah. I'll say the reason I loved it was I loved the gameplay, and I loved the music. I loved the animation and how colorful the game was, and how everything just popped. Going back to the animation too, like just the smallest little details like you'd see on the screen, like certain elements are like moving with the music. The way you walk, like your main character walks to the beat of the song that's playing, and it's so much fun, and so I think interesting's not nearly a good enough word. So refreshing in this era of games that, this is a very broad statement, but just there are a lot of games that are dark, and it's just nice to see a game that just pops like this in this specific way. And yeah, I really loved it. I'm not finished it yet, so I shouldn't use the past tense necessarily, but I love it so far. It's very good. But yeah. Girly Wolf Pup, it is a great game. I'm I'm so glad that you love it. But yeah, any other games that we want to talk about at all?
I think I'm done with my like really big ones. I want to talk a lot about. I've got plenty that I could just do a brief little like. There was this game. I liked it for these reasons.
Yeah, same
kind
here.
of thing. But I think the big ones are through for me.
I think so too.
It's so long for us to do this that my brain is buzzing with a few games that I've loved from the last few months, but they're not from last year. I can talk about them next time. So
I know it's hard, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're like, as I mentioned earlier, like we are very late to the party on this. That's okay. Yeah, I guess we can just cycle through. If y'all can start if you want. We can just anybody can start. I'm being awkward now, so I'll just stop.
Well, I've got plenty in mind, so I'll just rattle off a few. I played Cult of the Lamb last year. It was from the year before, but I played it last year, and it's really fun. And I'm not necessarily a huge fan of like dark comedy. I wasn't sure it would be something I liked, but it's the aesthetics that do it for me. Just the way that it'll be like, oh, it's a bunch of cute little, oh god, he's floating and his eyes are bleeding. Oh, it's so cute now again. It's like the whiplash is so hilarious, and it's such a cute, fun thing. It's just very good. Loved it. I revisited an old PS1 game that I played as a child, Buzz Lightyear of Star Command, based on the 2D animated series that had played for a little while back then. My memory of it was that it was janky but fun, and then I played it again, and it sure is janky. It sure is that. So that, yeah, has not aged well. Finally finished. I might have started playing this by the time we talked last time, but yeah, finally finished God of War Ragnarok. Man, I honestly don't like the original trilogy very much, and I do really like, God of War, 2016 or whatever year that came out, the, Dad of Boy, but not as much as a lot of other people seem to. Like, I liked it, but I didn't, like, love it. God of War Ragnarok is incredible. I really, really loved God of War Ragnarok. So yeah, that was great. That was a good experience. Sea of Stars came out last year, which I am a fan of, like, old-timey JRPGs, and it's very much basically trying to be, like, a throwback to Chrono Trigger specifically. I have not finished it yet, but I have been enjoying it. I don't think that it's, like, a, greatest of all time or anything like that, but it is what it is, and it's very good at being that. So, yeah, I am enjoying that quite a bit. I also played Mask of the Rose, which is a visual novel kind of romance murder mystery based that takes place in the same world as the Fallen London universe, I guess, because it's got the browser game, but they've also made a couple other games in the universe. It was interesting. It tried some things that I don't think entirely worked, but it did a lot of interesting things too, and I enjoyed that. And then last but not least, since I work with children and a bunch of them like scary mascot horror games, I played Choo Choo Charles, which I thought was it could have used more, not polish necessarily, but more rounding out. I guess there could have been more to it, and I think that would have been an improvement, but it was, as just a little thing with a very clever core concept of there's this like evil spider train on this island, and you have a train and you have to ride it around the tracks, and upgrade it basically to the point where you can actually take on the evil demon spider train. Yeah, it's just a very solid concept for a kind of a unique gameplay experience for a horror game, and it was genuinely fun. I enjoyed that. And also Poppy Playtime Chapter 2. I enjoyed the first one fine when the kids kept begging me to play it, so I did. I actually really liked Chapter 2. I haven't played 3 yet, but I'm actually a Poppy Playtime enjoyer now, I guess, so that's a thing. And Chapter 2 did come out last year, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think that's mine.
Cool. What about you, Red?
I liked I'm pulling up my list. So like give me like 2 seconds. I'm pulling up the list.
Oh, well, you're doing that. I forgot Honkai Star Rail. I have played like half an hour of it. I didn't like Genshin Impact very much, but I heard it was good. So I'm trying it. Anyway, yeah, that's happening. Okay, Red, go ahead.
Okay. So, all right. this is one of the weirder ones that I didn't mention at the very beginning, but it's still very good. So I played Disco Elysium last year for the first time,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Disco Elysium is very good. It is definitely not for everyone. I am one of those people that it's specifically made for because that I like this kind of cerebral, psychological kind of crap that has like the griminess and like is like witness the fall of man and how terrible humanity can be. Look at all of this dark, edgy, emotional. It's not edgy, but it's more of the darker philosophical stuff that I really like that hits the right buttons for me, but I know that it will not be for everyone because there are such heavy tones of like there's racism, there's homophobia, there is like all of the phobias
Just
are
Kuno.
present. There's just like a lot of and you're right, there's Kuno, that little monster.
Yep.
Yeah, it's Kuno. He sucks. Kuno's there, but overall, it's a really good game. I actually managed to somehow get one of the alleged best endings, so hey, I'll take it. But it's really good, and if you want to kind of take a walk on a weirder side, that would be a recommended, but it's one of those you're gonna love it or hate it. I had a friend of mine who played it on PlayStation Plus, and he was telling me like live what he was doing, and he hated it, but my boyfriend loved it. So it's one of those like
Oh.
it was like witness the duality of man. Like I had like two separate brains that just were like one was like I hated this game. He's like, what is the point of it? And I went, okay. And then my boyfriend, who's really into this kind of stuff, is like, oh, this is really interesting. And I went, okay, so just gotta have a specific kind of like focus on gaming when you go into it. I also I played Tinykin, which I can only describe as it's not Pikmin, but it is Pikmin. It is like 2D sprite, or it's like 2D animated Pikmin. It's really neat because your main character, I honestly always forget the main character's name though. They're running around with their little tinykins, which are red, blue, and yellow. That's what I mean. Like it's not Pikmin, but it's Pikmin. It's a little bit Pikmin. They have like different powers, and you can have each of them do different things, and you use them to solve different puzzles. But the storyline is a little different in the sense of the only reason you are small is because humanity has evolved to be that small.
Oh.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah, the way that they word it is it's like, oh, why is everything tiny? Because you're evolved to be that tiny. Oh, okay. Why is this entire house seeming to be in the 1990s? Oh, well, your Lord and Savior was born in the 1990s. Oh, cool. What? And then it just kind of goes from there.
Huh.
And it's honestly, it's really neat. It's fun to play. I haven't 100%, like, I beat the main storyline, but I haven't, like, unlocked all of the Dooble Dobbles on PlayStation trophies. But it's so much fun, and I would recommend it for someone that would want, like, just kind of a fun little funky puzzler pseudo-platformer. Because it is a platformer in a way, because there's, like, a little bit of platforming in it, and the camera hates you. And just, I feel like every indie game I play where it's like, the camera, it hates you. But the camera, it wants you dead. But that's always how Tinykin worked for me. But it's so much fun, and there's like animated cutscenes for each of the Tinykin, and it's so creative and has so much love. But right when you get to that ending, boy, does it, like, the story make it so much weirder. Like, I just told you, like, the vague bits. Like, I didn't tell you the whole thing. Like, the entire story, if you really pay attention, it just gets so much weirder. And I went, this took this simple game and took it in a different direction I did not expect. But would recommend, like, it's not like a 10 out of 10, 100%, but, like, honestly, give it a shot.
Okay.
However, 100%. Okay, so speaking of funky little puzzle games that are also 2D, So Rainbow Billy: The Curse of the Leviathan is so lovely. If you want to feel emotionally attacked by a game that is clearly meant for children, play Rainbow Billy. You are going to feel like your emotions, your trauma, your past, everything, it's just being attacked. It's just that's just a fun, funky ride. And throughout, you are trying to figure out Rainbow Billy's whole deal, because that I was brainstorming throughout the entire thing going, I'm like, is he in a coma? Because that was like, I hated that was the first place my brain went. But everything was like all trippy. So I went, oh, is he in a coma? Is this what his waking mind is doing? Is that what that kind of thing is? He's not in a coma. I'm just gonna tell everybody here, he's not in a coma. He's not in a coma. Don't be stupid. Like, don't just. He's not in a coma. The kid's not in a coma. But it's clear that he he projects certain things on certain characters, and like some characters, you find out he's like, oh, I was a real bully at school, and I couldn't protect my little brother. And like the guy the one that's the real bully at school that couldn't protect his little brother is a dog. So he's really mean by default. And his little brother is this tiny little gremlin dude that's just like, my big brother is gonna help me. And like, it's stuff like that. And you're not actually fighting them necessarily, you're talking to them. All while matching certain colors with other colors. And there's actually more than one physical copy of Rainbow Billy, which is really surprising to me because it is definitely an indie game. But like, there's like all of this like cute little puzzly platformy things, and it's like you have to figure out what emotion goes where. And some of the some of the best parts of it is figuring out which character needs to talk to the other character, because when you're trying to get these other characters, these enemies to your side, you have to sometimes send out one of your little dudes, your little characters, because you collect them and you have them give you pep talks and give other people pep talks. Sometimes they will say the worst possible thing, and all the work you did, like raising up the other's trust, goes completely down, and you gotta start over again.
Oh my god.
But it's just like if you interact with a person and you say something so bad, because like you can have like, I think a instance off the top of my head was like, there was this like very cute, like not like a sunflowery kind of character, like she's very like pretty and light, and I accidentally had like the buff sailor shark talk to her. And it didn't immediately lose, but I might as well have. I just restarted the fight. I just was like, oh wow. I almost lost the entire boss fight before I reset. I safe scummed it because I couldn't do anything.
Damn.
But it's so good, and I just want more people to play it. But hey, there's some really janky stuff in it. You will go through walls every once in a while. Rainbow Billy and the Curse of the Leviathan, I think, is what it's called. Yeah, that's the full name. And I would just 100% like, it's good, and it's also, I'm pretty sure it's really cheap right now because I got it used for like $20.
Oh, nice. Okay.
But I would really recommend like anybody that wants to play like a artistic expression of this child's emotional damage but also like the damage of like the people that are around him and how he views them in his world. It's really good, and it's really wholesome, and it does have some really bad bugs, so you might have to restart a couple of times. Like, do not be surprised if it crashes. But honestly, would recommend. There was a Kickstarter for I didn't even know it existed until pretty recent, until last year. But honestly, give it a shot. That's another one of those, like, give it a shot. I actually would recommend this one. Probably over Tinykin a little bit, but up to you.
I actually did buy this. It went on sale on Steam. I did buy it.
100% play it. Just 100%. And I'm just going to throw this out there because for anyone who might be thinking about this. Hey, so, like, Billy doesn't fully forgive everyone. There is one point where he forgives the character, but it's clear that not everything is okay. Because it is clearly a character that has caused him a lot of harm. Like, it leaves it somewhat, like, there is, like, a bit of ambiguity to it, but it is clear what this character is meant to represent, and it is also clear that Billy himself is still not okay with it and expresses that he's not okay with this person, but he's willing to start again. And the figment of the imagination that corresponds with this is not 100% okay, but, like, he's better now, and Billy views him in the more colorful light than he was before. So that's the other thing. When a character, like, is, like, having their worst trait exemplified, when they're their shadow selves, they're black and white. But when they're not, they're, like, all colorful and they get in this goofy colory scheme. Seriously, just please get this game. Please support these developers. They deserve it, 100%.
That's awesome.
The way you said the Shadow Souls made me think it sounded like Persona 4, and now I'm thinking of the combination of those two things, which would be odd.
No,
But yeah,
the vibes are there. The vibes are there. If you've read Young's Memories and Dreams, I mean, the vibes are there. It's clear that that's meant to be part of it because an actual psychologist worked on this game, if I remember right.
Oh, wow.
I've actually played a little bit of it, not a lot, just a little, and that is very unsurprising. Like, that sounds about right.
Yeah,
cool.
I think either a therapist or it was a guidance counselor. I don't remember which. But they had a lot of consulting done, and you can tell.
Oh, wow. That's cool. Are there any others, Red, that you want to go through?
Me gushing about Rainbow Billy for 30 minutes.
You can if you want.
Y'all don't think I'm gonna make a video about this? I'm gonna make a video about this. I'm coming back this year. That's why I'm like, no, I'm making a video about this. I need to get all of this brain out now. I played a lot. Like, I'm trying to think of what I actually, like, played and got through more of. And, oh gosh. So I played... I played Penko Park.
Oh, gosh. Okay.
All right, yeah, no, this is a weird trip. And if you want Pokemon Snap, and you thought to yourself, hey, what if I dropped LSD before I played Pokemon Snap? That's what this would probably look like. It is such a funky little take pictures of these weird little creatures game. Danielle. And it's not that you're gonna say, like, oh, I can recognize what kind of monster that's supposed to be. You're not. Sometimes it's like a weird turnip thing, and you'll take a picture of it, and you're like, what is that? Like, you're gonna get jump scared more than any horror game you have played recently. You're gonna get jump scared by so many weird looking creatures, and you'll be like, oh, is God dead in this universe? I guess so. So, like, put that back down. But then it's also, but the individual stuff that's hidden, the hidden routes are really interestingly hidden, and also the hidden monsters are interestingly hidden. Like, sometimes you'll think, oh, that's a plant, and then you take a picture, it's not a plant. And you have to have a different, like, strategy in order to get it to pop up next time. And it's the same as it does a lot of stuff that Pokemon Snap does, but it just makes it a lot more intricate and interesting. I don't mean to compare it, but it's one of those things where you're going to see it and you're going to immediately do the comparison. But I would recommend it, especially since it goes on sale so often now. Because it's so much fun, and you get to take pictures of funky little dudes that say funky little songs. And they might be monsters, they might be nightmare fueled, they might be your sleep paralysis demon for the next couple days, but Penko Park deserves your look.
Oh, God.
I'm just looking at the trailer right now, and yeah, your description sounds very on point.
It's sleep paralysis demon Pokemon Snap. Okay, that's my endorsement. Put me on the box. Sleep paralysis demon Pokemon Snap. Go.
Cool.
Well, if we're done, how about any that you might have to list,
Indeed.
Danielle?
Ooh, I have a few, so I'll try to keep them all relatively short. I will say, briefly diving back into Kingdom Hearts, that I did replay Rechain of Memories on crit or proud mode, and kind of loved it. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I very much enjoyed that experience. I played Portal for the first time, which was
Did
great.
I know that? I'd forgotten you played Portal for the first time. That's cool.
Yeah.
What a perfect little game.
It really is. It's just such a nice short sweet experience that just like now that I've played it, I'm like, oh, this is what everybody was talking about. Yeah. I like this. Let's see. Even though I didn't complete it, I played Dark Souls for the first time. That's something. Had a hard time with it, so that's why I didn't complete it. But, cool that I got to play the first Dark Souls game. Power Wash Simulator. Have either of you played this?
I did a bit after you recommended it.
We have downloaded.
Okay. It's one of those games that I very much have a love-hate relationship with, because on one hand, there's something very cathartic about it. You kind of just sit down and you're power washing things, and you can just kind of let your mind wander, and there's something very zen about it. On the other hand, it's extremely tedious, and you're trying to find that little bit of dirt that you missed in this huge playground, and it can be very frustrating. So my recommendation would be to play it with another person. That's a lot more helpful, because then you're both working on something and it's not quite as tedious. But it is a lot of fun, and whenever I mention it to people, especially people who don't play games a lot, they always laugh and they're like, why don't you just actually power wash? What the heck? I'm like, you don't understand. I mean, maybe I would. I don't know. Maybe I'd find joy out of it. But come on. This is a brilliant idea for a game. I'm so happy it exists. But it can be a little tedious at times. I played Season, A Letter to the Future.
Did that come out last year?
Yeah. Isn't that wild?
Gosh, I lost track of that, because that would be another one of my favorites. Oh, man.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Wait, did you also play it, Red?
No, I remembered it existed. That's why I was like, oh, that's right.
Oh, it is. I feel like it's very up your alley.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
It strikes me as a game that you would enjoy very much.
Also a game on the shorter side, right? I forget how long it was, but it didn't take too long to beat.
Yeah, it's also one of those where, that very much depends on you. It could
That's
take
true.
a couple hours or quite a few hours, but I can't imagine it taking more than, I don't know, 6-7 hours, even if you biked around a lot and did everything.
Yeah.
It's probably closer to 4 normally.
Yeah, I think, what really just got me about this game was just how intimate it felt. You're just coming in contact with so many different people, and getting to hear about their life through either the objects they own, or just from you taking pictures, and kind of seeing sort of, I guess, I'm trying to think of, I don't want to say too much, so I'm actually just going to stop. It is a very lovely game, and I would highly recommend it. It was very good. I don't know if you want to say anything, Sam. Yeah.
It's one of those with a very melancholic beauty to it, and it's just nice. It's chill, but it also feels heavy with meaning, if not in tone and stuff. It's an easy play. It doesn't feel dark or anything at all. It just feels at once relaxed and significant. It's it's odd and it's cool, and I liked it a lot. It's very pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. And you get to decide what color your bike is.
Yep. Which, game of the year, obviously. Any game where
Yes.
you can do that is Nutmeg.
Oh, Nutmeg.
Did that meow make it onto
Yes.
the audio? Or okay, yep.
Yes.
She just walked up onto my chest and was like, I'm gonna meow into your microphone and then stab you repeatedly. I'm like, yeah, thanks, but no.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I know, Nutmeg, you're fine. Anyway, sorry.
But yeah. Let's see. Abzu I played for the first time, which I really liked. I don't want to talk about this one too much because I feel like my feelings on it are way too complicated to go into on stream. But I did play Shadow of the Colossus. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
I was there for that. I remember the complicated feelings.
Oh, yeah.
Hashtag complicated.
Yes.
Yeah.
In a relationship, but complicated.
Yeah, pretty much.
I will reiterate my belief that it is indeed one of the greatest games ever made, but also that I understand why one's experience with it might be complex.
Yes, I'd probably agree. Like I totally understand and agree that it is a fantastic game and deserves all its praise. Oh, give my complicated feelings. Oh, I don't know where. I struggled with the gameplay. That's all. I struggled with it quite a bit. I know a lot of people, maybe Sam, you can speak to this more than I can, but I know a lot of people find that like there's something about the game that works with the jankiness, but it just didn't work for me. And I'm wrestling with that because I think there is a purpose to that, but for me it almost feels like too much jank. But again, I do see the brilliance of it, especially when I finished the game. Sam sort of put it in context for me that this was like the game that people would often reference as like video games as an artistic medium, that video games are art. And I totally understand that. Playing it wasn't the most fun thing for me. But yeah. I don't know if either of you want to say anything about Shadow to redeem it, or just have any comments that you want to say about it, even though you didn't play it this year. But still,
I'll let Red go first if she wants.
Oh yeah, sure. The controls are easily the worst part of the game. They're not fun. For me, at least. I didn't have that much fun. I played through it, and this is one of the few games I would say I powered through because I'm like, I know something interesting is going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm interested in what's going to happen. Let me power through it and see what happens. And yes, it was in fact interesting. Was it worth me yelling at my TV as I slammed into my PS2 controller? No.
You're making me feel seen right now.
I have a mixed feeling on it. On one hand, I hate the fact that from a journalist, from a writer, from a creator's perspective, I get it. Yes, it's difficult because life is difficult and because your soul weighs heavily on you the further you go. But that's great and all. But hey, this is a video game, so you actually have to make it work.
Yeah.
Might have over-exaggerated, but like the vibe is conveyed at least.
Yeah. See, for me, I'm not going to say that the game controls perfectly and that nothing could have been improved, right? Because I do think that that's not true. But and this is far from the only truly great game that like straddles this line to varying degrees of success. But like, there's a dichotomy to be had in terms of like design between something being very tightly controlled and something, mechanically speaking, being like loose enough to allow for a variety of player action, right? Like, if you design everything too tightly, then you're going to end up in a situation where the player's just kind of along for the ride, doing the exact specific things that they're supposed to be doing. And, that can, that's fine. but it's also, that not necessarily the experience you want if you're trying to do something different than that, right? And like I have seen Shadow of the Colossus is weird because pretty much everyone who makes video games says at one point or another that they were inspired by Shadow of the Colossus. Like, it's a weirdly common thing, and yet very few games actually tried to be like a Shadow of the Colossus like. But there have been times that a game does something that is very definitely or even explicitly stated to be inspired by Shadow of the Colossus, and almost always it doesn't work because they do the opposite of what Shadow of the Colossus did. They make it very scripted. There was a boss fight in Castlevania Lords of Shadow, which I would not recommend anyone give their time to, but that game did indeed exist. And there was a boss fight in it that if I remember correctly, at least, like pre-release interviews or whatever, it was said like, oh yeah, we want to be kind of like Shadow of the Colossus with this. And it's like, linear running and quick time events or whatever, right? Like it goes exactly the way that they wanted to. Shadow of the Colossus is a game that is meant to give you a lot of freedom in how you approach things, and is meant to always feel like you are one shake of the Colossus's head or whatever away from potentially going flying and falling and stuff. Like, it has to have a lot of looseness in order to work the way that it does. I do think that there is a degree to which it could have tightened things up a bit without losing that looseness, but I also feel like it's often forgotten when people talk about how the gameplay could be better in Shadow of the Colossus, just how necessary that looseness at least is. Maybe it could have been made a little less jank, but it couldn't have been made much more tight, I feel like. And that's a whole thing, and I could talk about it more, but I won't because it's been a while already. So, yeah, point being, I do love it. I understand why people would bounce off it and have trouble, enjoying the experience of playing it. But I do personally think that it works even through that. But yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those games that we probably could sit here and continue our discussion.
Yep.
So,
but it's also 18 years older than the year that we're talking about, so
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
That doesn't matter how old the game is. Look, if you played in 2023, it counts.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I will say, while we're talking about it, that The Last Guardian is fantastic, and y'all slept on it, and I'll never forgive everyone for doing that because it's really good and deserves a lot more love. But anyway, we can move on now.
I'll play it soon. Look, I gotta play it soon.
Sorry, I didn't mean you specifically, just that, I don't know, not enough people played it, and those that didn't love it as much as I think they should have. They're wrong to not love it as much as I do. So,
I've heard a similar thing. But yeah. Okay, another one is Venba. Did either of you play that?
I want to play that so bad. I think it's on my wish list somewhere.
Venba is the game. Let me find a link to send you.
Oh, it looks cute.
Do you see it? Okay. This game, it's very short. It's so... I hesitate, like, what to call it. Like, it's, I guess, like, semi a cooking game, but also more just, like, visual novel, more than anything else. It very much is just, like, a look into this person's life, or over the life, I should say, and how food is so important to ourselves and culture, and trying to hang on to that, and not lose it when you're inundated in a new culture that wants to sort of stamp out the food that you like and the food that your culture enjoys and makes. And it's such a good game. I would highly recommend it. It's just a nice game. It's just nice.
Looking at it gives me kind of Florence vibes, like if Florence was about food instead of romance.
Actually, yeah, that's a good comparison, actually.
That's on my wish list now. That's cool.
Heck yeah. I sort of mentioned this before, but I did play Spider-Man. Well, I replayed through Marvel Spider-Man and then played Spider-Man 2. I love that first Spider-Man game, so that was a a very rewarding experience to re-experience that. I don't want to dive into it too much here just because I know Sam hasn't played Spider-Man 2 yet, but
I do have it now. I got it.
that's true. You did get it, yeah.
Once I finish Final Fantasy XVI and Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and I don't know, I might be forgetting another few long games that I'm in the middle of right now for some reason. I'll get to it soon.
Yeah. I'll just say this. I think it tried to go for it tried to go for a lot, and I think sort of lost itself in everything it was trying to do. It sort of tried to top the first game, which was already really hard to do. And, you know, unfortunately, I don't necessarily think they succeeded. But, you know, if you liked the first game, it's building off of that mechanics-wise. It is still fun to swing around New York, and now New York's bigger. And also you get to play as Miles, as a main character.
Wait. What do you mean New York is bigger? How does that work?
Meaning like they expanded where you can go, I should say.
Huh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so I forget exactly where that expands to, but yes, like you can go to more different places in New York now. Within the city, obviously.
Yeah.
New York has a second layer on it. Yes, exactly. And the last, well, two more, and I'll try to be brief, but Unpacking I played, which was very good.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
that too.
Heck yeah.
That's a nice one.
Unpacking is just a nice game. I want to replay it, actually. Because, yeah, it's just, it's such a nice little game. And honestly, such an interesting way to use gameplay to tell a story. Like, just in a way that I did not expect. Yeah. I since you both played it, I don't know if y'all want to have any comments about it.
It's too wholesome when you pick up all the clues as to where this character has been going and where they're being, and how I can't put a toothbrush on the floor. I keep trying to put the tooth. I just want to see what happens. Like, what will happen in the next one? Will I unleash the apocalypse? I put the toothbrush on the floor, but that's me.
I will offer, I guess this is somewhat tangential, but I sometimes at my work, because I work with children at a daycare, and sometimes there are days when there's no school and they're allowed to bring their, like, you know, video game consoles and stuff and play them for like an hour or two out of the day. And I always bring a bunch of my own stuff because frankly, kids, there are a few really cool games out there for kids these days that I'm genuinely glad exist for them to play. And then there's a lot of vapid bullcrap out there that is the most accessible stuff for them, you know, like little samey running games that pelt them with ads every 5 seconds on their tablets and stuff. Like, just a lot of terrible nonsense. So, you know, try to bring some good games that kids might enjoy. I've brought Unpacking once or twice, and it's very fun to see children who don't, I mean, let's be real, like, even most, you know, like teenagers and adults and such aren't encouraged to think about games by a lot of, you know, like parents and culture in general in a lot of ways. So these kids haven't thought all that much about this kind of thing, but once they kind of get the idea that, like, oh, you can tell that this person is older and has changed and is doing something different based on the things that you're pulling out of the boxes and the type of place that they're moving into and stuff. Like, it was really cool to see some kids kind of like have their first experience with environmental storytelling almost, and start figuring it out and understanding how there's a narrative here, not just stuff to click on, you know. It was cool. It's a very good game. I like it.
Yeah,
Wholesome.
wholesome is
content.
Yeah, the best word for it. Wholesome. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, the final game I'll just mention is replayed through Bloodborne. on this very channel, actually. We did it live on stream, Sam and I.
Oh, you did it live on stream.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ah.
Controversial opinion. Bloodborne is great.
I know, very controversial.
No.
Sam, you need to stop it with your controversial opinions.
What can I say? I just love causing a ruckus with my controversial opinions. Like,
Yeah.
Bloodborne is great.
Oh, that's sarcasm. Got it.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, no. Everyone loves Bloodborne. That's, yeah. I mean, if anything, maybe controversial opinion, I don't think it's the best FromSoft, like, Soulsborne game, but that's only because I have a weird love for Sekiro, so, you know, but it is extremely good.
I was gonna say, yeah, I can't comment on that because I haven't played Sekiro yet, so Bloodborne is currently my favorite.
Yeah, Bloodborne is generally the favorite, and I understand why. I just love me some Sekiro, that's all. But, oh, hey, MC Prophet, what's up?
MC Prophet, hi, welcome to the chat. Hello. But yeah,
Friend.
Bloodborne's great.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's all the games that I wanted to mention.
MC Prophet shows up and we're just like, anyway,
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
that's all.
Here's one of our closest friends, anyways. Like,
Yeah.
That's fun. Oh my gosh. But yeah, any other games that you want to mention before we wrap this up?
put a disclaimer, this will be logged for later.
Yes.
That this will be put on the YouTube channel for later for anyone who just came in and missed it.
Yes,
Don't worry.
Yes, that is a good point.
Hey, the Callisto Protocol was free on PlayStation Plus, and I played a little bit of it, and it sure is a game that is trying to be Dead Space and isn't that great. So there's that. There's my opinion on that. You're welcome. Wait a minute. Actually, okay. Have either of you played Roller Drome?
I have started it.
Same.
Yeah, I still need to finish it. It's one of those games that is very much not really my kind of thing. Like, I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater as a kid, and it's, you know, I don't know. I enjoyed it fine, but it was mostly the game that I played when my friend wanted to play with me, and we couldn't play Crash Bandicoot together, because it's not only single player. You know, I never loved it. But the combination, you know, basically just it's a arena shooter, except that you're on skates and you reload by doing tricks, is just a great idea. Like, just a genuinely fantastic gameplay concept, and I have been enjoying it. So yeah, looking forward to playing more of that.
Is that multiplayer?
No, it's not.
Darn it.
So it feels like it would make good multiplayer, but
yeah.
I did also just realize that I never mentioned Resident Evil 4, the remake, which I feel like I should have. I actually played Resident Evil 4 for the first time in the build-up to that. I might have talked about that last time we did this, actually, having just played Resident Evil 4. And I won't talk about it too long because I know that we're, you know, almost done or whatever, but I think that it's very interesting how you can improve a game in almost every way and still not necessarily have it be, like, as good as the original. Like, I genuinely think that most of the changes and updates that they did to the remake are an improvement on some level, right? Like, Resident Evil 4 is a very good game, but it is dated in some ways. There are some things that, you know, haven't aged well or could have just been done more. Oh. A purr?
I had Ash up at the microphone, but Discord wouldn't have picked it up. The stream would have, however.
Oh, that makes sense. I was going to say, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I have little Ash. See, we got all the cats being annoying tonight. Stupid cats.
Perfect.
Yeah, yeah, I don't know if anybody just heard Mars's little chatting in the background, but
I did catch that.
Yeah, it's the yeah.
But sorry,
anyway, yeah, I thought that the Resident Evil 4 remake was really good. I just think it's interesting, like, that despite it, I feel like in as close to objectively as you can say, like, being better in a lot of ways, something about it just being better according to the existing standards of games today, as opposed to Resident Evil 4, which was kind of new and better by its own standards. Like, it was kind of a groundbreaker in a lot of ways, and that somehow feels better and more important than a game that is technically more, like, functional and well done in a lot of ways. And yeah, I don't know. I think that's weird. And yeah, I'm still a pretty new Resident Evil fan, but I have been enjoying my forays into the series. So yeah, but yeah, 4 remake was good. All the Resident Evil remakes have been pretty good. 2 and 4 in particular. I feel like I didn't like 3 as much, but yeah, good stuff.
Cool. I'm always hesitant to try Resident Evil since I don't do well with scary things. But
You could try A. It's mostly just kind of like fun, actiony scary. Except for
Okay.
the one scene that's the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire goddamn life. Like,
oh,
there's one scene in Resident Evil 8 that absolutely like scarred me, and the rest of it's just like, yeah, shooting werewolves, whatever. It's weird.
oh, interesting. Okay, I feel like I might actually know what you're talking about because I know you sent me a clip of something, but I don't know what.
Oh, that was in the Resident Evil 8 DLC, the one with like the mannequins or whatever. Yeah, and that was extremely good. But yeah, no, believe it or not, it was worse.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, you could always play Seven and Evil
Seven and Evil Resin.
Resident Evil 7 with the giraffe and just not understand the story and just vibe with it that way, because that one wasn't really scary. That one was just goofy as shit.
I'm sorry, giraffe?
Yeah, was it 7 that looked like the giraffe or 6? It was 6 that looked like the giraffe.
Oh, 5 and 6 were like
6 was the giraffe.
dumb shooters.
Yeah, 6 was the giraffe entry because the logo looked like a giraffe.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
Now
and that
I
makes more
remember.
sense
Okay,
because
I
you
don't
said it's
know
not
why I
scary,
thought
and I was like, okay.
I'm trying to make Mars not fall.
Oh.
Oh my God.
He just almost swan dove off the. Okay, there you go, buddy.
Nice.
He's very clumsy.
Yeah, 7 was the most effectively scary one for me, so I was confused for a moment.
No, it was 6. I confused the two because I'm like, which one looks like a giraffe? Does a 7 look like a giraffe? Kinda.
Well, cool. All right. Last call. Any more games? Or do we think we got them all covered?
Until I inevitably, shoot up out of bed in the middle of the night tonight, like, crap!
Look,
I forgot about this one.
The games that we're looking forward to next year, I'm looking forward to saying, because
yeah.
That's
games
true.
that are coming out in the next couple of months, because there is one that you both might be interested in if you like Souls games.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready?
Yeah.
Are you ready? I'll start off the games that we're looking forward to that are coming out this year. Or, hey, so you're a crab.
Oh! Yeah.
And it's a Souls-like where you are a crab, so it's a 3D platformer, Souls-like action RPG, non-linear.
Yes.
It's called Another Crab's Treasure.
Yep, it looks very good.
Yes, the developer is Aggro Crab, and the publisher is Aggro Crab.
Oh my gosh.
And it is coming out next week, I think.
Oh, wow.
That soon? Oh, man, okay.
It's coming out April 25th, not next week for those of you who are listening to this later. April 25th, 2024.
Good distinction, yes.
The day after my birthday. That's a nice birthday
perfect.
present.
Happy birthday, here's some crabs.
Don't say that out of context.
That's why I did that on purpose.
Oh, God.
It's funny because when they announced that, the first time I heard of that game was in the Nintendo Direct, and they're like, in this Souls-like game, and I'm like, wait, what?
What a Souls-like crab game.
Yep.
Oh,
I actually saw this April 1st, they did like an April Fool's thing where they did a trailer for the Dark Souls mode that made it like, that got all the color out of it and gave the crab a sad face the whole time, and like, it's very good.
Yes. Oh, I love that.
So I wanted to give that one to you too. But I also want to tell all of you about Duck Detective, the Secret Salami, that's coming out next month on May 23rd.
Oh my gosh.
It's a short adventure game apparently, but you can be a duck detective and it looks like a 2D paper like that looks to be my shit lately, but like 2D paper style mystery solving game.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And I want Gecko Gods to really come out already because I'm sick of waiting. But I get that game development takes a long time, and doing a game from the perspective of a small gecko exploring the big scary world must be extremely difficult, but I'm so impatient about this.
That looks neat.
It's because you're this little baby gecko and you're exploring the world, and I'm so excited because you're just this cute little guy that's like platforming and doing gecko stuff, but also solving puzzles. That's neat. That's some good content.
Looking at it, the animations are fantastic too. The way that the gecko, like, it's just exactly like a lizard moves. Like, it just goes a little bit and then just stops. And then just, like,
Yep.
that's very good.
And it doesn't have a release date. The Gecko Gods does not have a release date. I want it to, but it doesn't.
What was the other one you said? Duck salami?
Not Duck Salami. Duck Detective.
Duck Detective. Oh my god, I mixed up.
And the Secret Salami. Thank you very much. Gotta say the and.
I can't believe that. That's too funny. Okay, cool. I'm gonna look those up. Any other ones?
I would also argue. I want to see if Badalvia. It's like Bad Paladins, but Balladins. That's the one. That's apparently coming out in 2024, and that was kickstarted, and that was a big deal when it popped up on Kickstarter, because I think it ran into some controversy from your typical gamer bros. But outside of that, it looks really good. It's a choose your own adventure online co-op RPG, so that's already getting my interest on that one.
Nice.
I was really interested in that, and also Love Ghosty, which is a dating sim visual novel about ghosts.
Oh.
So I was like, that sounds neat, I say.
Cool.
And I think that's almost it. I think there was one more that I wanted to mention, but I'm just trying to remember the exact... Little Kitty Big City. It comes out May 9th.
Yes.
I've been meaning to look into that. I wasn't sure if it was looking really good or looking like trying to cash in on the success of Stray, but it's looking good.
Yeah, no, I think to directly contrast Stray, it's just like, hey, you want to be a cat and do cat stuff?
Oh, okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, it looks like an exploration game for the most part, from what I'm seeing. And it's supposed to be just like this wholesome romp. I've seen a lot of development stuff on it. It just looks cute. It just looks like what they're banking off of is, hey, you know Stray and how it was a little stressful to be a little platformer kitty? Well, how about you just do cat stuff? That's about where it looks it's going for. So I'm looking forward to that coming out.
Nice.
I like how all the games I'm looking forward to coming out are just these bizarre, like, little... I mean, the most, like, quote-unquote serious business one is the sequel to Yes, Your Grace, because I really liked that game in concept, but not in execution. And Snowfall looks like it might be better, but I'm not sure. I'm a little worried about it. Because Yes, Your Grace was one of those games where I really liked it at first, and then like I hit about the mid or like the latter half of it, and I went, oh wow, you guys just wanted to be edgy and like Game of Thrones later on, huh? Cool.
Oh.
Which I was very bummed out about because it was really interesting at first, and then it just became kind of gross. So, I saw I beat the game, but I'm really curious about the sequel though. I'm not gonna get it when it comes out, but I'm gonna but I'm gonna watch a lot of reviews on it and I'm gonna see how it goes.
Okay.
But I'm very curious. Because any type of medieval strategy RPG I'm interested in by default, but since I know how the other one played and how the story went, I'm just gonna give this one a hard I'm watching you, but not sure. So, Someone else should go. After I leave it on that ambiguous note.
You can go ahead, Sam.
Well, mine is weird because I feel like the list isn't complete without also a list of all the games from this year that I haven't gotten to play at all yet and really want to, which includes Spider-Man 2, of course, Jedi Survivor. I didn't love Star Wars Jedi. Why am I forgetting what the
Fallen
first
Order?
one's called? Fallen Order, yeah. Like, I enjoyed it. I didn't love it, but I enjoyed it, and I would like to play the sequel. I'd like to play One Piece Odyssey, but I'm not actually far enough in One Piece yet. I'm still working on that. One Piece is just as good as they say, for the record. It's extremely good. But yeah, so I'll get to play it sometime. And then Armored Core 6, just because everyone was going off about how incredible that is. And I haven't played the series before. I'd kind of like to check out more of it, but yeah, I would like to play that. But this upcoming year... Well, okay, here's the other weird thing. Most of the games I'm really excited for this year that I know of and I'm really excited for are already out. I just haven't played them yet. Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, because I still need to play Yakuza 7 in the first place. But I love me some Yakuza games. They're fantastic. Helldivers 2. Oh, sorry, Helldivers 2 I did play and it's incredible. Same for Prince of Persia, The Lost Crown. But anyway, and more. I thought there were more. Did I really just go like, oh, there's so many this year already, and then just list 2? Oh, Dragon's Dogma 2 also. I'm looking forward to playing. I'd kind of like to finish the first one first. I've played it. It's really interesting. Rough around the edges, but interesting and cool. But yeah, I'm looking forward to 2. But then we're getting we're getting a sequel to Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. I'm mixed on how I feel about now that the studio was bought out by Microsoft and they're releasing it exclusively on Xbox and PC. But Senua's Sacrifice was fantastic, and I look forward to more of that one way or another. And then I don't know how I actually feel about this, but we're finally getting The Wolf Among Us 2. Telltale stuff now is complicated, and I'm still not really sure how excited I should be for it, but I really liked The Wolf Among Us, and I always wanted a second one, so we'll see. We'll see.
I like The Wolf Among Us as well, so I'm concerned, but also tentatively optimistic.
Yeah, honestly, I'm still not 100% certain exactly what happened with all that Telltale stuff and whether or not I feel good about it and the what is Telltale now. I don't even fully know, so we'll see. But yeah, I am a big fan of that kind of cinematic adventure game in general. Telltale's first The Walking Dead season is still probably one of my favorite games. So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I know I have some on my list, Sam, that you're also looking forward to. You got the Elden Ring DLC, Shadow of the Erdtree.
Oh yeah. There's
Which...
another one you're probably going to list that I should have, but sorry, go on.
Well, I know it. I'll just say it now too. Dawn Trail, Final Fantasy XIV. Yeah.
Yep. Can't believe I didn't mention Dawn Trail. But yeah.
Yeah, those are 2 I'm very much looking forward to, especially speaking of 14, this will be for me my first the first expansion I'll be playing when it comes out. So that's pretty exciting. And then Shadow of the Erdtree. I'm very excited to get back into Elden Ring. So I've had my time away from it. I got sick of it and now I'm ready to get back into it. It's going to be fun. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Sam.
No, I was just agreeing. That was a yeah of agreement.
Oh, gotcha. Other than that, there are games I'm looking forward to, but not necessarily ones that are coming out this year, unless I'm forgetting some, which could very probably be the case. Yeah, I think those are the 2 big ones for me. I also was kind of looking forward to a fan-made game I guess that was supposed to be a parody of a Persona game called The Golden Girls Take Manhattan.
Oh my gosh, is it coming out this year?
It's been canceled.
No.
I know, I just learned that. I'm so sad, but I just want to mention it because people should look it up. It looks so cool, even though it's been canceled. Like, it just, the artwork and stuff, it just looks so freaking good. But yeah, so I think that's all on my list. Oh, Beyond Good and Evil, actually. That's one I can say, because that is coming out this year.
What?
Wait, what?
You know the, I guess, remaster they're doing or something?
Oh.
I'd forgotten that they were doing that, but yeah, okay.
Okay, that'll do. That'll do.
I will just eternally be sad about Beyond Good and Evil, but I'll take a remaster. I'll take it.
I too will take a remaster because the PC port is apparently pants, and I want more of my friends to play it.
Oh, I cannot.
Yeah.
When I got a Steam Deck, one of my first thoughts was, "Oh, I'm going to replay the hell out of Beyond Good and Evil. I haven't played it in a while. I'm going to play it on this portable thing. It'll be great." It is like a tiny portion of the screen on the Steam Deck, and the controls don't function even when I use the Steam controller setup to make it. Yeah, it's a mess.
It's bad. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Because I did try to play it, and my first bad experience was it was like, you cannot pair this with a controller, and I'm like, what? Why? So I do have it on Xbox 360, but admittedly I don't boot it up that often. So it'll be nice to have this remaster to use on modern consoles.
Yeah, everyone should play it.
Hell
Both
yeah.
people who have played it before and who haven't. Just everyone should.
I absolutely
it's a good
agree.
game.
It's such a good game. Play Beyond Good and Evil. It is such a good game, but play the remaster. Do not play the PC port, for the love of God.
Yeah.
Just such a crime what happened to that one.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just treated so bad afterwards too. Like, at least Okami's gotten multiple, it was shafted similarly, but it's gotten multiple ports in multiple. You can just play Okami everywhere now easily.
Yep.
That just never happened for Beyond Good and Evil. I'm mad about it, and I'll stop talking about it so we can move on.
You should be mad about it. It sucks. But the only thing I'll mention real quick, and this has been out, but I still need to get to it. Celeste 64. Have you heard of this?
No.
Mm-mm.
So the developers of Celeste remade, I guess, the first level of Celeste into a N64 game version.
Actually made by Maddie Makes Games?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm trying to bring up the site now and it's just loading very slowly, but yeah. Yeah, it's let's see. It was created in a weekish by the Celeste team to celebrate the game's 6th anniversary.
Downloading now.
Yeah, definitely want to get to that soon.
Yeah,
but
I
yeah.
love the hell out of Celeste, so I'm here for this.
Same. But anyway, I think that completes our discussion of 2023. And what a wonderful discussion it has been. And it's almost been 3 hours, so we did good.
We did.
But anyway, how about I'll start with Red. Do you want to plug your channels so everybody can find you?
Yes. Me awakens from the dark. Yes. You can find me at I want to say search the channel Red Angel, but I know better. It'll probably be Red Angel Ponderings now, because I think that's what pops up now for if you at my channel. I'm not entirely sure, but I know that's what the URL is, so yay. I'm on X as Red Angel X3, formerly known as Twitter. You'll find me on Bluesky the same way. I am on I am on Twitch, but I barely use it. I just kind of help out friends sometimes, but I might start streaming soon eventually. And that's over on and that's also at Red Angel X3. So I am very simple to find. Just just Google it. But that's what I've got for all of my plugs.
Cool, cool. What about you, Sam?
Well, if you search anywhere Games as Lit 101, that is pretty likely to come to me, but I am at Games as Lit on Twitter, currently known as X, but I refuse to call it that. Dumb.
Yeah.
And same on Bluesky. And, of course on YouTube, that's where my videos are. I'm hoping to make more of them soon, so that'll be good. And yeah, that's the easiest ways to find me.
Cool, cool. Well, thank you again for coming on. This is always fun. And next year will be our 5th anniversary of doing this, which is kind of crazy to think about. But yeah, very excited for that. But anyway, thank you all in the chat for hanging out with us. This was a lot of fun. Hope you enjoyed it. We enjoyed chatting with you as well. And yeah, I think that is it for the evening. So with that, we will talk to you all later. Have a good rest of your night, everybody. Good night.
Bye.